Hello there, and welcome to an Evening in 10 Forward installment number 91. I have been away for quite some time, taking some personal time and recovering my mental state, should I say, from the last iteration of New Trek that graced our screens. I hope everyone out there is okay, and I'm really, really glad to be back. Hopefully everyone can hear me, and yeah, this is this feels like wearing an old pair of shoes. Hopefully I've set the stream up all right, and I've remembered to do that. Oh, I missed this intro. Says a good place. How you doing? Life's been hard. Yeah, it's had its fair share of challenges over the last couple of months. I've had some personal challenges to go through, and not really had much in the way of motivation to do a full show. But I did stream yesterday. I streamed the final part of Star Trek Resurgence on the PlayStation. Hello, Guna. How are you, my friend? Good to have you here. Yeah, I finished the game. I have to say, I was very impressed with it. Narratively speaking, it was like its own little Star Trek episode, which was brilliant. The characters were decent. I think the only sort of fault I can levy at the game itself is more graphical, and it's got a few glitches. Yeah, Guna, New Trek that graced our screen, more like disgraced our screen, and mine's, yeah, I completely agree with that one, my friend. Disgrace is the right word. Hello, Stephen Bromby, good to have you here. Evening. Yeah, well, what can I say? That Star Trek game is no New Trek game, we'll put it that way, and it's It is well worth getting, or unfortunately you can't get it on physical release at the moment as it stands, because it's been removed from all the stores due to the licensing issues. I'm not clued up exactly on the the fine details of what that means, but my guess would be, and it's purely a guess, that it's got something to do with the Paramount merger. What's the topic for this evening? We're going to be discussing anything sci-fi related, I guess. Talking about great sci-fi, either movies, television. I wanted to just leave it kind of an open door with regards to this evening's stream, because I didn't really have any particular topic that I wanted to talk about. We'll obviously go into a bit of news, things that have cropped up and popped up. So certainly over the last couple of months, if I can remember, so much seems to have happened. You know, there's rumours of obviously Academy being shelved. I'm not sure how much stock I'd put in that, though, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not entirely sure whether it's worth them actually broadcasting it in the end. Sci-Fi like Project Hail Mary. Now, Project Hail Mary, I've got an opportunity to go see it tomorrow, so I think that's what I'm going to be doing. I haven't yet seen it. My son has. He went to the cinema with his friends, but I'm going to probably watch it tomorrow. I've been looking forward to it, to be honest with you. I believe that the last sort of film of that sort of irk and that story was a film called Sunshine, which we discussed a few months back during one of our best, greatest sci-fi movies, worst sci-fi movies streams, and I think I actually went into a charity shop and I bought Sunshine on DVD. Because I swore blind I had it, and I think I used to until we moved into this house, and I had to ditch half my DVD collection. Actually, 2/3 of my DVD collection. And Sunshine didn't make the cut, so I went by a charity shop, spent £1, a great British sterling, and bought the DVD, and I watched it a few nights later, and I have to say it wasn't the most memorable film. It was about as good as I remember it being, or in this case, it's not as good as I remember it being. Perhaps I'm missing something. Perhaps I need to reset my taste in films. I don't know, but it just didn't strike me as, the sun's going out. They don't know why. They're sent on a mission. Previous ship failed the mission, and they sent another one, and then everyone goes nuts. But yeah, it didn't really sort of hit the mark. And what I'm sort of seeing about Project Hail Mary is that it's a good film. It's gone back to that classic style of, I don't know, being good, I suppose. So if you were to, I don't know, from what I've seen of it at least, if you were to mash the storylines of Sunshine and I believe Spaceman with Adam Sandler, if you haven't seen that film, that's a peculiar one. But it's I wouldn't necessarily call it a bad film. I think Adam Sandler is fantastic in that. It's a serious role. It's not one of his usual Happy Madison productions, but it was not an entirely unenjoyable experience. So yeah, I say this every stream, but if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're liking the stream and you're enjoying it, then please hit that like button. That shows some great support, and it gives me extra incentive to just keep going and not let any new Trek show put me down. I need to see Project Hail Mary. Yes, yeah, I'm like I said, tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's going to happen. Not seen Sunshine in years. Need to rewatch that at some point. Again, I don't know. It just didn't gel with me, I suppose, the way a lot of films would. I enjoyed the audiobook and the movie. I guarantee you'd love it. If you don't, you have some explaining to do, young man. Well, I will try not to disappoint. I'll give you my honest opinion as always on the next 10 forward. And yeah, I suppose we will see about that. In other news, do you know there's a puppet episode coming of Strange New Worlds? That show that I'm really not inclined to review this time round. I really think I'm just going to stop reviewing New Trek, because I think Academy actually just broke. It broke me. What can I say? I realised a few weeks after the final episode that just what I put myself through, looking back on it in retrospect, and it wasn't a good experience. And there are people out there that enjoyed the show, and if that's the way it is, that's the way it is, But I can tell you now, I did not enjoy the show at all. Has someone come in? Guna, you have joined.
Hello everyone, how are you? And how are you, DM?
Well, not too shabby, mate, not too shabby. Glad to be back. Glad to be back talking about it. And I really, to be fair, Guna deserves a lot of that credit, because he's been giving me some pep talks over the last couple of weeks. So I really do appreciate that, my friend.
No, it's nothing at all. I just want you to be all right and well. And I've done nothing really. I've just chatted to you, and it's helped me as well. And I'm going through a torrid time, and it's helped me too. So it's reciprocated, if I can say that word ever correctly.
Well, to be honest with you, mate, I think it reaffirms that we've got a good, strong community on this channel of great people who will, support each other through tough times. And I'm not one of these people that go, "Oh, that show was so terrible. Now I'm just more chronically depressed." It was there were other factors there, so I'm not going to put it all on Academy. I believe that to have just been the daftest trigger known to man.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you want to start with, but can I just chime in with a couple of quick things which people may be interested in, if that's okay.
Well, absolutely not under any circumstances. Don't you realise that oh no, sorry, we are talking
Yeah.
about decent sci-fi. So as long as it follows those rules, then yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, mate.
Well,
Absolutely.
I think it might be good for some people. I mean, it's not. It's the not the. It's not Star Trek. It's Star Wars. I've come across a few months ago, or maybe a year ago, a fan channel called Monumental. I don't know if anyone in the chat knows of it or if you've heard of it. Danger Man. He what he does is he takes all like sci-fi characters or even classic protagonists and antagonists from classic films like the Terminator and all that kind of thing, Predator, and he pits them against each other to see how he thinks or who he thinks would be victorious, and that's been his general theme. He recently then suffered this thing that YouTube were going through, this demonetization thing, and it really affected him in a negative way. But he's managed to turn that around. He appealed it, he turned it around, and whilst that was all happening, he had taken out his latest video where he's pitted Darth Vader against Pinhead. You're familiar with Pinhead from Hellraiser?
Yes.
Right. And he was going to do that in two parts. Now, the first part, again, he was initially going down the road of pitting them against each other, and he thought he might do more of a story this time. And the first part, although I wouldn't say it's captivatingly brilliant, it's still very, very good. And then the demonetization happened, so it delayed him releasing part two. But I think it came out a couple of days ago. And I have to say, and please don't take this in any bad way, I think that part two story, because it really goes deep into Anakin's past, and I believe, because of how it ends, it's almost on par, if not on par, with what Otoy did with Spock and Kirk.
Really?
And I'm not saying that with any disrespect, because you know what that meant to me, and what it meant to millions of Trek fans.
Yeah.
But I think where the same thing that's happened to Star Wars, where it's just gone down the pan, and then it's taken this fan to come up with something which, it's such a lovely story. I mean, I'm not even sure if you do need to see part one, because part two's, it's a 30-minute film. It's 30 minutes, but it's just so engrossing and captivating. If anyone is a Star Wars fan of the old stuff, the old school stuff, and it really goes deep into Anakin's past, his character, and why he became what he became.
And what's this channel? Sorry.
Monumental.
Let
me double check if I've got that right as well myself. Just bear with me. Oh, it's wonderful. It's honestly, this story is brilliant. As I said, I don't know a lot of you about if you're into Star Wars or big Star Wars fans.
Right, yeah, I see it now. I'll subscribe. Yeah. Why not?
Oh
there
my
you
God.
Go.
Please, even if while you're doing some chores or something, I think you just need to watch this, because I think he's done it brilliantly. It's got a lot of attention, and I hope he does more stuff like it. So it's not just, this person against this person, let's weigh up the odds, let's see their strengths and weaknesses, and I'll give you my opinion on who will win. This is really his first, I think, and he's even said that he was going to do that with this, but then he thought, no, I'm going to try and do something differently, and boy, has he cracked it. It's so good. So yeah, that's the first bit, and then the other bit on Star Wars is most of you probably already know, if not all of you, that there's this big rumor going around that they're gonna almost eradicate that horrible sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
and it's the World Between Worlds is how they will do it, and it's almost like that will become not canon anymore, but it will be part of a separate timeline or a different timeline. Now, I'm not so sure about this. Number one, I don't know whether it's this true, but the rumblings are becoming stronger and stronger. So sometimes they say there's no smoke without real fire. So there could be something in it. But even if it does happen, for me, the damage has been done. It's already done. Like with so many things. I mean, remember when you guys were talking about potentially how you feel if they completely just got rid of anything after 2005. I think we were talking about it, and in Star Trek, and how would you feel if they started again after a few years break, started again from 2005? But I mean, part of me would welcome it. Part of me would be upset, because I did like Prodigy, I did like season 3 of Picard, and there's a few characters I liked in New Trek, although there's only about 3 of them. But at the same time, you think that's very small payoff for or cut of losses for if they did make it great again. So like that, there's this rumor about doing the same thing with Star Wars and potentially starting again from I think after where Clone Wars left off, or maybe even Rebels. I'm not sure. I think in one way I'd like it because it's a real stick up of two fingers to what Disney tried to do with all that rubbish that they came up with. But then it is a shame because obviously then you have Andor, don't you, which was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if any guy of you watched it, but Andor is a tremendous piece of television, I think. So, and likewise, just one more thing. It might not be directly sci-fi related, but it's kind of connected, I suppose, in some cases. They're doing that with the MCU as well, aren't they? With the new film coming at the end of the year, that's going to be now a direct sequel to the Endgame film, which was the end of Phase 3, which a lot of people say that's where the MCU ended, and then they came up with all that rubbish afterwards. So they're basically bypassing phases 4 and 5 completely, and there was a lot of content in those two phases, but they're basically just bypassing it because what they're doing is they're re-releasing Endgame just before Doomsday comes out, and there's going to be extra footage at the end of Endgame which then connects it to Doomsday. So basically they're saying, apart from maybe a few characters in phases 4 and 5, they're basically saying that didn't happen. So that's a big call. It's a huge call. But what this goes to show, it's Disney again. They now are almost kind of admitting they've absolutely messed this all up, and they've lost so many viewers and they've lost so much love, and they have, how can you say, tainted the iconic franchises. I'm wondering whether they do the same with Star Trek, or if it ever happens. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about any of it. But it's almost like, for me, I think it's a little bit too late, too little, too late. But we'll see. So that was all I just wanted to say, just starting off. So apologies for if you had something else in mind, but I just wanted to get that across.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've still got the news segment at the beginning, so we're not into the bulk of the show yet. And you're exactly right to bring them up. Now the first step to healing is, as you know, is to admit that you have a problem. Now, for these companies to come forward and say, certainly when it comes to Marvel and Star Wars, forget Star Trek for a moment. If you come forward and say, we made a mistake, this has not been good, this has been a failed project, we go back to the drawing board and we are going to produce these projects for the customers, for the fans, then that's the first step on the road to redemption. Now, for Star Wars to retcon the sequel trilogy and pretty much everything else, I would say it's doable. It's doable, because I'm a big fan of Rogue One. I liked Rogue One. I thought that was a really, really great addition.
That was true.
And it bridged that gap between the prequel and sequel trilogies, and I think Andor is a superb supplement to that. Andor is Star Wars for Star Wars fans, but not only that, grown-up Star Wars fans. It's not aimed at kids.
Yeah.
It's a very mature show, and it is superbly produced. Those 2 seasons of Andor were incredible, and yes, it's a slow burn, but it took me right back to the sci-fi of the 90s, where there was that investment, there was that attention, that how can I put this? There was that I can't find the words right now, but there was that it's not the ADHD crowd, the people who the people who are looking for instant gratification in really short burst storytelling. It was very it was a very slow burn, but it felt worth it when you were watching it.
Yes, correct. That's right.
And the payoffs were superb, absolutely fantastic. I just want to say hi to some people in the chat. Hello, James Caserta. Hello, Angels Pierre. It's good to have you back. Mauro Botta. the legend that is Maro Botta has returned. Somehow he has returned, because that's how we explain people coming back. Somehow they returned. But yeah, we can all agree that Disney Star Wars has been a pretty much 90% failure. The MCU has, no, to be fair, it's pretty much been the same. There's been a few little nuggets of better produced art within the newer MCU stuff, and the same goes for Star Trek. There's been some takeaways. There has been some takeaways where certain individuals have gotten it right, but their first step is to realize that they've messed up. They've made mistakes.
Sorry to interrupt, just very quickly on the Star Wars thing. I think the thing that I have enjoyed, I have to say, aside from Andor, was the latest offering, the Shadow Lord, Maul the Shadow Lord. That was, I don't know if anyone has seen it. I personally enjoyed it. The pacing was on point. It was a really good story, and Sam Witwer, oh my God, as Maul, he is absolutely brilliant. But he's quality anyway. He's quality anyway. So you know what you're going to get with him. But I thought that was a lovely show to watch, and I'll tell you why I liked it, because before you knew it, it was over, and you're thinking, what was 25 minutes gone that fast? It was just brilliant, and I thought that probably is, next to Andor, the best thing that Disney Star Wars has done, I think, personally. I mean, yeah, there's an argument for the Clone Wars, etc., but I'm talking about the more later stuff that they've come out with. Those two things were by far the best, in my opinion, in terms of TV iterations.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to these projects that really stand out, and you find the ones that really stand out don't do very well, and that's because they're appealing to that same niche audience that they started with in the first place. You try and change an IP to suit a wider audience, you're gonna end up pleasing absolutely nobody, because the IP changes to such a degree that it no longer becomes recognizable to the people who made it special in the first place and made it so popular. Now, Star Trek, for example, has not felt like it's been aimed at the family, at the mature family, since 2005. In fact, it's felt like it was written by children for children. Yet at the same time, taking on a Game of Thrones style shock value that failed to fit in within the Star Trek universe. And I will say, Star Wars, as you all know, I've been more of a Star Trek fan than I have a Star Wars fan, but I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I love the movies. The original film.
Yeah, the original films were amazing.
And I didn't buy the toys. I didn't get into the merch side of Star Wars, but I really do enjoy Star Wars as an IP, and I know the world. I understand the world of Star Wars. I haven't read any of the Star Wars books. To be fair, I've got about 50 Star Trek books I've got to make my way through. So I'm not au fait with the extended universe of Star Wars, but I can safely say there are definitely Star Wars projects that I have enjoyed, even modern ones that I've enjoyed. But and I'll tell you something, Gunnar. I don't know whether you agree with this, but what should have been one of the biggest successes of the television side of modern Star Wars turned out, in my opinion, to be one of the worst things I've ever seen, and in terms of Star Wars and sci-fi in general, and that was Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh God, it's terrible.
That was such an abysmal show that completely destroyed the character for me. Certainly in context of the prequels, completely destroyed the character.
They had so much potential to really delve deep into him and get a lot of background. And they focused on the Inquisitor, which was a joke, really. The actual aim of the whole story was kind of contradicted as well, because his job was to look after Luke, and he ends up really looking after Leia, which was very bizarre. But I think more importantly, it was, I think, a real opportunity missed. And the other bizarre thing, when you think that you're focusing on Obi-Wan and Anakin as well in this story, probably two of the biggest, most familiar characters in this entire franchise, or at least they're up there in the top 4 or 5. But you spend your budget, the budget is limited on that show, or it was restricted on that show, and they spent much more on the most idiotic shows like The Acolyte, and I think that other one with the kids, I can't remember what it was called.
Oh yeah,
and you'd think, what are they doing? You know, you had an opportunity to do something incredible here.
Was it Skeleton Crew?
The Skeleton Crew, that's it. And you have a real opportunity to work on a character that is beloved, and has been from 1977. Think about it, you know, for all these decades, and you literally turn out that tripe. I mean, I think a lot of people who were still giving it a chance, I think for a lot of them, I was reading about this and then looking at people, you know, who had reviewers doing stuff on YouTube, and a lot of them said, for a lot of diehard fans, that was the end. That was the end. And they just then thought, you know what, we're not going to watch anymore now, because they've messed this up. They've really let an opportunity slide. And that's a shame, because that, in theory, that could have actually redeemed Star Wars Disney, and it could have been a redemption arc for themselves. That, right, okay, we've got a few things wrong here. Now look at this. This is going to blow your minds. And it did the opposite, as you said.
Well, what they've managed to do, certainly with the 3 franchises that we've discussed so far, is they've absolutely managed to destroy any capability of it making any kind of money. And again, you've got these beloved IPs that are going to make nothing, because you're not targeting your core customer base. And it's Marrow Botter, you legend, $25 super chat, thank you very much. Not Sci-Fi, but 2 hours ago. Hold on, let me give that a love for you. Let me give you a love up for that. Thank you very much. 2 hours ago, Nerd of the Rings broke the news. Peter Jackson is in talks to get the rights to do the films on the Marillion. Yummy. Wasn't Stephen Colbert tied in to write the damn thing? Wouldn't that be a complete disaster? Sorry. He's writing The Hunt for Gollum, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Stephen tossing Colbert. Really? I mean, how ironic would it be if he went out on a tannoy in the middle of a film, or shouted from a mountain, your Talaxian furfly is has lost its Lord of the Ring, For God's sake. What a joke. And I don't care if he's a Lord of the Rings fan.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He's not a creative.
I'll tell you who you need as a consultant is Xell. He's
Xell. Yeah.
Oh my God, his knowledge on Lord of the Rings, or Tolkien, sorry, not Lord of the Rings, on Tolkien is unbelievable. It's frighteningly good. I had an opportunity. I think you left when you left that night, and I think I spoke to him for another 40 minutes to an hour. And there was a lot of questions I'd always had since 1983, in fact, because that's when I first read The Lord of the Rings. I think I might have read The Hobbit a few months before, because it came out as a game on the ZX Spectrum, so I played it. And with it, when you bought it, you got the book, and so I read the book, and then I thought, right, now it's time to read Lord of the Rings. But at that time, I was like overwhelmed by the size of this book, because it was a three in one rather than three separate books. And I thought, how am I going to read that? That's going to take me forever, because I'm quite a slow reader.
Yeah.
But I did it, and I think I did it in 1983, and ever since then, and that's, you know, going past that animation kind of what's it called, that where they used humans but it was animated. They did half the film, which is quite good actually. And I think on that one they had John Hurt playing Aragorn. I think I remember voicing Aragorn. They obviously had the radio series, which is absolutely brilliant, which Xell always harps on about, the Lord of the Rings radio series. And then, of course, we had the Peter Jackson movies. And all throughout that time, I had all these questions, which I never bothered to try and find the answers for. And then Xell was just like, da, 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 da. And I'm like, wow, you've actually solved so many of the puzzles which I had in my own mind within the space of an hour. So he's extraordinary when it comes to lore of Tolkien. Absolutely brilliant. So I just wanted to give him a shout for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Xell's a legend in himself. The thing is, you know, there are two groups that know an IP better than anybody else, and that's the writers, creators, and the fan base. Because it's incredible that the way an IP can evolve even outside of its own licensing bubble, because the fans make it what it is, but they do their research. They are absorbing these IPs, and they are, you know, researching the world, the expanded lore, all of the canon material or the non-canon material, things like fact files, technical manuals, Tolkien's history of Middle Earth, all of this media. They're absorbing it, and that's what makes a fan. You know, not every fan knows everything, but the fan base knows. And this is, in some ways, this is why I don't actually envy a lot of the true creatives out there, because they've got a really difficult job. They have to try and please an awful lot of people whilst maintaining their own vision. Now, the difference is with the modern versions of these IPs is that they don't even care about doing that. They just put their spin on it. So, Leslie Headland, whatever her name was, she put her mark on Star Wars, and it was the Acolyte.
Yeah. And
she did it not giving a flying toss about any one Star Wars fan. Not a single one.
I think she actually said that in so many words.
Yeah, and that's precisely what Kurtzman said about Star Trek. He said, you know, we're not treating Star Trek as Star Trek. We're treating it as a platform to spread our message, and that's just insane to me. That's absolutely insane. If you're a business and you've got a product, and you say, we're not going to make this product for the customer anymore. We're going to make it for ourselves and an imaginary customer base that really doesn't exist in the kind of numbers that's going to sustain us. I honestly can't fathom what insanity has taken over the creative world.
It's unreal. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Just catching up a little bit with the chat. Stephen Bromberry says The Mandalorian started off really good, then took a swan dive off a cliff after season 1. Yeah, I would say that the concept of The Mandalorian I thought was great for season 1. It was a little bit rinse and repeat, but I have to say, you see it in a different context. It's you know, you see Star Wars in a different context with The Mandalorian, and you see a bit more of that world, and it's really good. I think you know, I don't know. It just strikes me as I don't know. It was okay. It was all right. And I mean, season 3 was inexplicable. We didn't actually finish that, and they released episodes from season the only season of the Book of Boba Fett, which was just The Mandalorian. It didn't even feature the cat. I cannot fathom why they did that.
that was mental. I think they did. It was the first 3 or 4 episodes were about him, and then all of a sudden it's all about the Mandalorian. You think, what are you doing? It's nonsensical. I mean, I think a lot of people didn't like. I was probably one of the exceptions. I wasn't too keen on any of the newer Star Wars stuff, but what I did actually like the way. I think why people didn't like Boba Fett is because the character completely changed. Because obviously we knew him as this like cutthroat bounty hunter who'd stop for nothing just to get his way, and anyone that got in his way, like they'll be, it just deal with them. And I think that's what people wanted to see again. But they obviously changed him. He was looking back on his life, had he made the right decisions and all of this. But there was one part of that show which I really did like. It was to find out a little bit of lore about the Sand People, which we know before that they were just seen as these aggressive, almost predators that had no emotions and they just did what they did. But the fact that they explored that, and he became a part of their settlement, if you like. Yeah. And then you realise that they actually suffered a huge tragedy, and they were actually the victims, not the oppressors in a way. And they were only they'd only become the way they had was because they had no choice. So they were able to survive, but they actually had a really deep-rooted, rich culture, if you like. Yeah. And it kind of reminded me of maybe how the American Indians were, for example, before they were obliterated or almost wiped out. And it was. I thought that was quite interesting. And I personally, I'm probably one of the very few, but I actually liked it. And then all of a sudden, the Mandalorian just takes over, and you think, I don't understand this. It was essentially a season 2.5 of The Mandalorian before season 3 came along. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was something to behold. That was, and not only that, but it absolutely undid what I thought was a reasonably good finale to the second season. It just undid it and said, right, we're going back on adventures because we've got a movie to make, which unfortunately is coming out in a month's time, I think.
That's right.
And I have to say, after seeing that trailer and the early clips, I thought, this feels like it's been scripted and written by AI and even narrated by AI.
Yeah.
Because it felt it sounded so robotic. And it was just, it was absolutely
such a shame.
Crazy to see. And obviously I think the film's just going to tank. I don't think anybody cares. And I don't think that there's an awful lot of people out there who really give a crap enough anymore. The only way these IPs survive is to go back to the drawing board and go and to communicate and listen to the fans. And you mentioned Otoy and the work that Carlos had been doing. True legend is Carlos.
Yeah.
And the entire Otoy team. They understand the core of these IPs. They understand those types of people. They understand what makes it tick. They understand the art form. They respect the art form, and they respect the IP, and they end up creating something quite beautiful. And I think if they're going to do a reset on a lot of these IPs, that's something that they should keep at the forefront of their minds, or at every juncture. Hello, Snorty Poopus. Good to have you here. And Stephen Robbery says, I need one of those massive telescopes to locate my interest in the new Mando movie. I couldn't care less about it. No, and nobody, I think nobody does. Nobody actually cares about it.
No, and I think also the cuteness effect, or the cute effect of Grogu's gone as well. It's just so worn out, and they keep trying to push that through. You're still seeing him doing cute stuff. It's like, we've done it. You've done it in the series, right? That's enough. I would guess, or hazard a guess, that probably 80 to 90%, if not more, of the people who are going to watch the film have watched the show.
Yeah.
And are you already familiar with that little cute stuff that he does? You know, why couldn't the film be a bit more progressive if they're going to do it? Why don't they show him now being a little bit more, I don't know, of a serious character, taking his abilities a bit more seriously, if that makes sense? And yeah, a little bit lighthearted here and there. But it's from the trailers, it just looks like the same old. You know, he's pressing the wrong buttons, or he's trying to nick the food from Sigourney Weaver, and you think, mate, you've done this over and over again. But inside of it, it's not even funny. It's not even cute. It's nothing. It doesn't hit hard at all. And I just don't understand how they cannot. The thing is, there are very talented people out there. Like you said, they are extraordinarily talented people out there, but they just don't want to use them. No. They just don't want to use them. If anyone does something good, they dismiss them. It's like when Terry Matalas did season 3 of Picard. Oh, it's actually got some interest and people like it. Oh, we'll get rid of him. We don't want him here anymore because that's not what we're trying to achieve here. And I think they've done that with quite a few franchises. DM. It's just I'm just confused and perplexed as to where television and film are going, what route it's going, what direction it's going. But this is why I wish both of us had actually seen the Hail Mary film, because that has been a breath of fresh air. It's something so different. It's almost like a throwback to what we fell in love with in the first place. I can't wait to watch it. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance. I might even have to just wait till it gets, it's available on television. But I'm so looking forward to that film. I can't tell you that's one.
Yeah, we've been eagerly awaiting it. Even the wife said, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to that." So yeah, we'll hopefully tomorrow we'll get around to watching that, but I'm not sure yet. We shall see. But if you're talking, when you're talking about things like the Mandalorian, something that had a critically abysmal third season, for them to go and then make a movie and it be the first Star Wars feature film in 7 years or however long it was since J.J. Abrams crapped out the last movie. Hello, Watch Nerd.
Hello. How are you?
Very, very well. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. Yeah, just end of a week. But yeah, all good.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've just finished my point, and then we'll get chatting. But to then go to a movie, and not, like you say, evolve it, just make it the Mandalorian in a movie theater. It's nobody cares anymore. They're really riding on this Grogu's so cute and the merchandise. Everyone likes Grogu, but it's not there. It's vacuous, shallow merchandising. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Yeah.
So not good. I'm really of the strong opinion that they need to stop Star Trek right now. They need to just stop broadcasting, stop airing it. The new stuff. Don't release it. Just put it away. Come back to it in a few years with some people that actually like it. And that's another major fault. The people that you notice it in the games industry as well. People start working for these creatives. With these IPs, game IPs, movie IPs, television IPs, and they actually don't like what they're producing. They don't like the IP. You got people creating Star Trek who don't like Star Trek and don't like you because you like Star Trek, and they don't like you because you don't like their Star Trek. There are people who clearly don't like Star Wars. And the gaming industry is absolutely stricken at the moment with creatives that hate games. They genuinely do. Games journalists that hate games. It's like, why are you even in that field? You don't like what we like, but you don't like the fact that we like it. Look at Warhammer and what's happening with that. It's all over the place. So this is in some ways why I wanted to come and do the show tonight and speak about great science fiction. You know, we've gone into a bit of the news and gone into a bit of the negatives, but you know, there has been great sci-fi, and there still is great sci-fi. It's few and far between, which I suppose makes it a little bit more special when we do actually get it. But one thing I wanted to talk about was For All Mankind, because, well, we're all here. And how incredible that show has been for us. And the stories that it's told, and, you know, how accurate it could be in another universe. You know, it's brilliant, and it's very well written. But unfortunately, I mean, I don't know what you think, Watch Nerd. I know Gunnar and I have spoken about it. I think you and Gunnar have spoken about it. But for me, this latest season of For All Mankind it's veered quite far away from the core of the show, what made the very early seasons great, and it's not hitting the same buttons for me as it used to. I'm still watching season 5, and I'm enjoying certain aspects of it, but it unfortunately season 5 seems to be suffering from a bit of a rinse and repeat.
Yeah, so I think I don't want to give spoilers away. If anyone doesn't want to listen to spoilers, please obviously just turn off momentarily. I think when Ed dies, I think obviously that's like the show kind of protagonist dying. Do you know what I mean? So, and obviously Margot, I've not watched the 2 latest episodes, I don't think.
No.
But obviously Margot's very ill and is and is in prison. She's elderly,
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I think what they did in the early seasons really well was they kind of with the time jumps, they really managed to kind of keep the continuity going.
Yeah.
Now I'm not sure whether it's because you still had like Ed and Margot alive and working, relevant to the story. Because at the end of last season, pretty much we knew that season 5 would be when the last 2 kind of originals, i.e. Ed and Margot, were taken out by old age, if nothing else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Ed and Margot are very likable characters. I'm sure like all of us like them, but there's other characters who don't really resonate as much, and I think I just written maybe a bit poorly.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate because I really enjoyed the first 3 seasons. I think I binged, as I said, within about a 2-week period in December 2024, and I found it to be a very good series. I loved the show. I look forward to watching more episodes, and yeah, it just seems as though it's lost its way a bit, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think that's maybe what's happened. I don't know.
Well, I think it's evolved past its core premise. And that's something that the shows are going to suffer from, and certainly For All Mankind, because of the time skips and the time jumps. Unfortunately, apologies, James Caserta, but we did call spoilers. But really, if you think about it, the time jumps are so big that these characters, they're aging out, and I felt that we could have had Ed for this one final season, rather than oh hello, oh bye, that sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, some of the characters that have been introduced since are great. Some of them are not very particularly well liked by Gunnar at all, but that's
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, yeah,
What are you talking about? I love them all.
Yeah.
Especially the newer characters, and especially my favourite of all ever for all time. Come on.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely room for improvement there. But no, I'm invested in some of these characters, but yeah, a lot of them I think they've been introduced a little bit too little, too late. A little bit too late for us to really get to know them. But I think, don't get me wrong, I like where the story's going. It's feeling like it's heading in a certain direction, something that we've discussed before. But this season, I think it's very much reusing a lot of
what we've seen.
Yeah, it's reusing a lot of stuff from last season. Oh look, there's another uprising. Oh look, we got this problem. Oh look, that problem. And I don't know, it's beginning to feel a little bit stale.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're running out of ideas almost.
Yeah.
I for my part, I mean, finally I can talk about it, because I remember on the chat you saying, you've got to watch this, you've got to watch this, you've got to watch all these months, and I finally caught up. It's only today's episode I haven't watched yet. I was umming and ahhing over all throughout season 5 whether I'm going to continue with it or not, but I have now decided that I will finish it, because I've come this far. It'd be stupid not to. Only a few, I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes left, I'm not quite sure, but for this season. And I'm still going to give Star City a go, although I'm only going to do 1 season. If they're going to start doing 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm not interested. I'll probably just have a go at the first season, and hopefully that will be a one-off. If they're going to do the whole timeline from the Russians' perspective, I think that's going to be a bit too much of an overkill for me, because we generally know the story anyway. To retell it all over again from another perspective I think that's a bit strange, but that's just my opinion. Other people could love it. For me, it was firstly, thank you both for the recommendation. You were both encouraging me to watch it. I haven't regretted that. I'm very much like Watch Nerd. I think it was the first 3 seasons. I mean, I was absolutely hooked. What I liked about this, because there's sometimes, it's very much like Andor, where people can think this is just so slow, it's so slow. And there was elements of that in the early seasons of For All Mankind, but I think it was done in a very clever way, that the pacing was deliberately slow for a reason, because then when you get the payoff episode, it really hits hard. If you have fast pacing all throughout, then you don't appreciate that end payoff as much. And for me, there was I think in each of the earlier seasons, there may have been 2 or 3 episodes where, oh my God, you just cannot take your eyes off the screen, because things are happening all over the place, and it's all been built up from that storytelling from the earlier episodes, and it's so well done. And why I was so invested in it, because I loved pretty much all the main characters. It's one of those shows where even after the first episode, I'm already wanting to know all of them, all their names. I was rehearsing in my head, so I got them all in my head. Even to a certain extent, I was looking up the actors and their background, and that tells me that I like this show. Where I see with this later season, I'll be honest, I don't actually care for any of the characters at all. I don't even care if they all die, and I know that sounds really horrible, but I just don't care. Whereas the earlier characters, I was so invested in them. I wanted them to have really good stories and fulfill all their ambitions and attain their goals. And I was fully invested. And I think certainly the first 2 seasons were magnificent. I think season 3 I enjoyed as well. And I believe that it's because of only a couple of characters, specifically one, that I've just taken my eye off it, and I'm struggling with season 5. I'll be honest. I mean, I watch it and I'm not really watching it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas normally when I watch a show, I think I might have said this to you before, dear, maybe to you as well, Watch Nerd, I have to ingest every single word. So I'll actually watch it with the subtitles on. If I feel like I've missed something, I'll rewind it and rewatch it again to understand that I'm getting everything here that I possibly can. This last season, it goes, and even if I think I've missed 4 or 5 scenes, I'm not even interested in rewinding and rewatching it, because it's just not holding my interest, which is a real shame. However, again, putting a positive spin on it, I think it was a very well conceived show. I think people who haven't seen it should give it a go. I recommend that they should, especially for the earlier seasons. Yeah. And I think what you guys have also said with this unofficial link to The Expanse, which in itself, The Expanse is a fantastic piece of work. Yeah. I think it's quite interesting to see how that develops, and if they do get to that stage when they end it, I think you guys have said it ends at season 6.
Yes.
To see if it does kind of finish on a point where, wow, that can go straight into The Expanse, and it'd be interesting to see if that happens. So I still think it's a show well worth watching. I think they've just dried up a bit in the latter two seasons for me, and that is a shame. It really is a shame. And and Watchdog used to something which was spot on as well. Even though the time jumps in the earlier seasons, that continuity was there brilliantly. It's almost as if there wasn't a time jump. That's how it felt. But all of a sudden, in the latter two, it's like at one point I didn't even know what was going on. All these new characters, it's all in your face, and I'm thinking, I don't know who any of you are. I don't understand. I don't get it, and it confused me. And maybe that's just me, but I felt that at least with the earlier seasons, I knew what was going on. If that makes sense, I knew what was happening with the characters. I understood what was happening with the characters, and it's still a joy to watch the earlier seasons. People, so please take a positive spin on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in the fact that there's not actually a single character that I care about in season 5, in most ways, because the kids are just being kids, you know, and majority of the main cast has gone. We obviously missed out Danielle. She appears in one episode. It's like she's still around, and turns out she's not as old as Ed, you know. But we've only seen Danielle once this season, and there's still room there to have that anchor to the older characters. But when you're not invested in these new characters, it makes it very difficult to sustain the show. The show is brilliant. You know, like Gunnar said, please don't take the negativity that we have surrounding the latest season, and let it mar your experience for the first two, because the first two are the first two seasons, first 3 seasons, hell, even season 4 to some degree, are great. But those great characters from the seasons aren't there anymore, and it really has lost something. And now they're rinsing and repeating plot points from the previous season, and it like I say, it feels stale. You don't feel like you're really watching it. You're just watching it to see what happens. You're not engrossed in what you're seeing. And it is a shame. It is a shame. But I mean, the concept itself was brilliant. A good place says, "Can you give me a small recap for All Mankind?" Well, essentially, I mean, I won't go into too much detail, but For All Mankind is an alternate timeline where the Soviets landed on the moon first, and as a result of that, it gave the Americans a kick up the backside to continue the space race in many forms and compete with Russia for a prolonged period. So that means moon missions, that means lunar bases, that means getting to Mars, that means asteroid mining, and all these tremendous advancements. And it tells that fictitious possible story throughout, so far, 5 seasons. And I think that the core idea of the show was, or the core elements of that show, certainly in the earlier years, was the challenges of space travel, the isolation of space travel, the isolation of colonization, and the dependency you have on your brothers and sisters in arms. All of that's gone now, because there's no sense of, and I noticed this with this last season, there's no sense of danger, really.
Yes.
Because they, no longer are they so worried about launches. No longer are they so worried about malfunctions, about survival. It's now all about colony politics.
Yeah.
Whereas,
and it seems all too easy as well now. Everything just seems, we're just going to fly in.
Yeah.
Go here.
I'm going to go to Mars. Okay.
Yeah. And that was the charm of the earlier seasons, because even to do the smallest thing was fraught with danger. And you feel as a viewer you were immersed in that and you felt it, and that really, I think that was the charm of the earlier seasons. It really was.
Yeah.
Because it got you so engrossed in that. And this is what I was trying to say at the start. Even though the pacing might have been a little bit slow and deliberate at that time, and I think it's good pacing, by the way, even though I'm saying it was slow, but it was slow for a reason, and it was building. It was almost like the building blocks of something that was going to have an explosive finale, and that's how they did it. And I think they did it so well. Again, what you just said there about the relationship building, we don't seem to have any of that anymore. It was so well done before that. You had the partners, whether it be Ed's wife or it was even in Tracy and Gordo's case, Tracy was up there and Gordon was he was grounded, wasn't he? Yeah. So there was that worry of their partners, what's happening, and when there was danger. And even the kids, like you said, even the kids are suffering as a result. And I have to say, just quickly as well, sorry, very digress. I absolutely loved, was it Molly Cobb? Was her name
Molly Cobb?
Molly Cobb, yeah.
Brilliant.
What a wonderful, one of the best characters I've seen in modern TV.
Fucking loved her.
I did, absolutely brilliant. She played that part so well. I think for me, she's probably my favourite character of the show. I absolutely loved her. And then I just did some. I don't know if you guys have seen Lost, but didn't she have a major role in the series Lost? I think she did, actually. I think that's the same person or the same actress. But
it sounds familiar, yeah.
But she was great. She was so good. She had that dry wit. So there was it almost like when there was a serious moment going on, where you as a viewer really tensed up, then she would come up with this one-liner, and it just broke it for a little. But it was done well. It wasn't done, almost like these newer shows where they're trying to make it comedic, where it just doesn't work. It was done so well, and it's done with class. And it's for that reason I'm actually thinking of rewatching seasons 1, 2, and 3, because I love those characters so much.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I did that exact same thing. A few months back, I rewatched the first 3 seasons just in preparation for season 5. But it's not only Molly Cobb, but I love the relationship and eventual friendship that forms between Karen and Wayne, because it's Wayne, isn't it? Molly's husband.
Oh yeah, he was brilliant.
He's spot on, and the thing is, he's like the guru. Man, he's the proper guru.
Oh, I forgot about him. He's the stoner, isn't he?
He's the stoner,
he's so good.
What a legendary character! He's fantastic, and the contrast between him and Karen Baldwin is phenomenal, and especially the way that she reacts, because she's so scared of the way that she feels because of her husband's going up in space. It's so dangerous and everything. And then she comes face to face with somebody else's fears that drive to the very core of her psyche. She instantly recoils, and then and then she's brave enough to face it. And it's sort of like this shared experience between the two, of them actually coming to terms with the fears that they have regarding their spouses and the dangerous lives that they lead. I think that was a fantastic relationship with those two. I absolutely adored both of those characters in that moment. Karen Baldwin, I think, went a little bit haywire in later seasons, but I think that the character of Wayne is a superb character. Molly's a superb character. And I even think Elena's a superb character. I'm sorry, I had to do that.
You're suddenly not my friend.
Unlike.
Do you know what? The other thing that got me thinking is that this is what a good show does. For me, it got me thinking that, wow, can you imagine if actually it was the Russians that won the race, and it did give. So you start thinking that, because I like what they do in this show, because technology advances at a lot faster pace. Yeah. You see, I think even in the early 2000s, or was it even in the 90s, that they're already using electric cars.
Yes.
There's that one scene where they're outside.
The NASA director. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. That the phones have advanced a lot quicker, everything. And you think, Well, I wonder if that actually would have happened if there had been a change of story and a change of reality as we know it. It kind of poses that interesting question. It really does, and I also quite liked, without again no spoiler. I mean, it's a small spoiler, but I remember I think it was the very first episode. I'm trying to think back now, where you see you know when they do those kind of the news all the newspapers going past. And I remember seeing John Lennon actually survive the assassination, which I really liked, but that's quite a nice twist.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, again, it's not really a spoiler because it doesn't affect the story too much. But he goes on to become a real kind of environmental activist, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which you'd probably expect from him. But it's just little nuances like that which are so interesting, and it's those kind of things that got me so hooked to this show. And I was thinking, this is really clever because it gets you thinking. This is what we want. This escapism that we like to watch on media, it's not just about the enjoyment factor, but it's also about the thought processes even after you've watched an episode or you watched a film, and you actually start questioning things and you start thinking about it. And I think that is a real big component of something of good quality.
Yeah.
And that's what this was.
Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal. Xell's in the chat. Bless him. He's put, oh shit, spoilers. Do apologise, Xell. We did put a little bit of a spoiler warning out there earlier, so I do apologise. And it was just, Tetrarch of Apathy. Hello, my friend. There's a lot of shows and games are doing that. They don't like the property. They delight in giving you enough quality for enough time that you have become invested in it, so they can stick it to you. Yeah, it certainly seems like that. My Tolkien guru, definitely. No, I have to say I'm not interested in Star City.
Fair enough. Are we not going to watch it at all, or?
Well, I'm gonna watch the first episode, see how it goes, but I can't say I'm particularly interested for the same reason that Guna stated, is that we've already we haven't seen in depth from the Russian side of things, but I don't feel that I really need to see that again because we know what happens. Imagine, for example, I probably would watch it because we've been starved of so much decent Star Trek over the years that I probably would watch it. But imagine, for example, after Deep Space Nine had finished its run, they decided to do a show called Dominion, which then shows the Dominion side of things.
I would definitely watch that.
We would definitely watch it, but would we have been really interested in it at the time if we?
I would. I think I would have been. Yeah, I think I would have been. But I know what you mean about Star City.
Even if you knew the outcome.
As long as it wasn't another 26 episodes, no, then that might be too much. But maybe a few. I would. I wouldn't mind. It's almost like, do you know, that reminds me of when Riker, they swap positions, don't they? Riker and Kern, was it? And they change. Yes. And it's almost like seeing, then Riker's experiencing how Klingons behave and how they manage things on their ship and the crew and all the politics there. And I think that was really well done. And I really enjoyed that episode, seeing it from a Klingon perspective. So I kind of take that idea that you just said about the Dominion a little bit like that. I'm not sure if I'd be able to watch a whole series or 7 seasons of 26 episodes each. No, probably not.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit.
But like a TV movie or something. Yeah,
that would be great. I think that would be really interesting. I think as far as Star City is concerned, I could be completely wrong, by the way, so forgive me, but I think they're gonna, because we already know what's happened, I hope they don't really dwell too much in the political side of things in that show. And if it does, I think that's gonna, for me, I think I'm gonna find that quite boring.
I think that's where they're going with it, based on the trailer.
I think I'm gonna, like you, I'm gonna give the first 2 episodes a go and see what we're actually gonna be experiencing here. But if it becomes a bit like that, I'm going to think, I think this isn't going to work for me. But let's see. Time will tell.
Oh, RNTNZ, welcome to the stream. Can't join you right now. Hope you're still boldly going. Live long and prosper. Yes, we are, my friend. Thank you so much for that super chat. That's very generous of you. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that as well. Yes, I mean, everyone's loving the Dominion Dominion show. Perhaps that was a bad example. But like I said, yeah, we're so starved of Star Trek that I probably would go for that. But just imagine it would be ruined by the Femhadar.
Femhadar. I'll never get over that.
Don't think about that scene again,
yeah. Someone said something interesting about The Expanse. I think it was Stephen Bromley in the chat. It seems to me that For All Mankind is going the same route as The Expanse did, quality in the early seasons, then treading water, repeating a lot of plot elements in later seasons. Yeah, like I found The Expanse, having seen it all, yeah, in the last season I kind of struggled with it. Obviously, if you've read the books or are familiar with the books, you kind of know which way it's going. But yeah, the earlier seasons are stronger, I guess. That's true.
Yeah, and I've still not finished The Expanse, but I fully intend to. And I think a show should know when to stop. The writers should know when to stop. And when it becomes about money, that's a big problem. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to contradict myself with what I said earlier about them wanting to make money. Absolutely, you should want to make money. Otherwise, how do these things get made in the first place? But I think there's more value in, well, it's basic economics, isn't it? There's more value to gold if there's less gold. And then, it's like money. If you create money that's not official and it's not as good as other money, it just devalues the money in the first place. It devalues the IP if you make too much of it, if you're not adding anything to it. So an example of that would be Supernatural. I thought a fantastic concept when it came out, a fantastic show that had 5 brilliant seasons, and it had a 5-season story arc, which was concluded quite satisfactorily. However, it kept going, and the quality of that show declined so much that I noped out of it in the beginning of season 8, I believe. And I cannot believe to this day that it went on to 15 seasons. And when it ended, I went and watched the last episode thinking, what the hell is this? What a lousy way to end the show. What a lousy way to treat the show. And the simple fact of the matter is, it was making money, so they just kept going and kept going and kept going. And the quality just kept declining and declining and declining. The storylines were rehashed, and the bad guys were resurrected. The ones that were supposed to have been dead, and then they kept killing the lads and then bringing them back, and it just became rinse and repeat for the simple fact that people wanted to see the brothers on screen, completely missing the point of, you've got to write a compelling story here. So I suppose where I'm going with this is that For All Mankind may be suffering the same thing, but on a shorter span, a shorter timeline, because yes, you can delve into the politics of into interplanetary politics, but it's incredible how little of that we have gotten in season 5 so far. It's it's simply just been a couple of plot threads that have connected a few episodes, But the
Can I
rest.
ask a question?
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, can I ask a quick question on
Of
that?
course.
Because obviously I've kind of tuned out a little bit, so I'm not looking at the credits as much as I used to. Have the writers changed in the season 4 and 5? Did anyone notice?
I can't say that I have.
Okay, it's just an interesting thing because I know that there was some good old school Trek writers that did some excellent episodes of OG Trek that were writing for all mankind, probably because of the Ronald D. Moore connection. I think so many come to mind. I've forgotten their names now, but Naren Shankar and a couple of the others. Is it Stephen? What was his name?
Stephen Bear.
That's Stephen Bear. That's it. People like that, and I was noticing. I was thinking, oh wow, these are all Star Trek writers of episodes I remember that I really enjoyed back in the day. But I haven't noticed. I don't know if Watching knows, but I've not really. I don't know if there's been a change of writers as well, because it for me it is the tone of the whole show has completely changed. It really, it's. I don't recognize if for example if say this season 5 was the first season, I'm not quite sure we would be talking much about it, to be fair, which is a shame. But it's such a contrast. I was just wondering whether there'd been a change of writers as well, or they got new writers, and I'm not sure.
Point, I guess. I mean, also, as to Danger Man's point, I think some story arcs, right, I think are just best kept kind of at 3 seasons. Do you know what I mean? Or 4 seasons. And sometimes it's knowing when to stop, unfortunately. And some showrunners do, and some showrunners don't. Like for me, like Battlestar Galactica, I believe that is in the 2000s version. I believe it was 4 seasons. Off the top of my head, and that was about the right length. Does that make sense? Like I think anything longer than that would have elongated things too much. Without going into spoilers, yes, some people found the finale a bit too religious, but it is by its kind of very nature going to be. Do you know what I mean? It always had overtones of that anyway, with Asylum's religion and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. There's always a perfect length for a story, I think. And I think maybe as a showrunner, you should have like a rough kind of outline of where you want it to go, like how many seasons, how many episodes, and just kind of go from there. Like with your storyboarding and whatever, and kind of, start big and kind of work downwards into like then individual seasons and individual episodes. But yeah, as I say, For All Mankind this season quite disappointing. But you still have a few good seasons, and that's fine for me. Like, as I say, it's much better than any post 2005 Star Trek I've seen. So I'm not gonna overly mog on it. And Ronald D. Moore is a good showrunner, good writer. Obviously, he wrote, the Battlestar Galactica kind of reincarnation in 2000s, which I enjoyed. So. Look, overall, I enjoy his writing. So
agreed.
And the structure of For All Mankind changing, I suppose in some ways you could say it was inevitable, but I don't know. I think I feel that it needs to come to a conclusion soon, and I know it will be, but they need to be very careful where they go with this. And I obviously I'm not political on this channel. I don't like to be. I don't like to point towards what a show may be trying to do, even if it is Kurtzman saying I'll use Star Trek as a platform. But you can definitely tell that For All Mankind is a quote unquote progressive show like Star Trek, because it's written by Star Trek alum. It's created by Star Trek alum, and it's going to have those elements in it. I feel that this season in particular, which funny enough, the guy who I'm talking about, the president, is actually played by the actor who played Degra and he's been in plenty of other Star Trek series as well. I feel he's definitely an allegory for a certain Orange Man bad, and you can certainly tell that the elements of this show are centre left leaning, but in terms of some of the ideas, and that's as deep as I'll go with the political stuff. but I'm not really feeling this season. Okay, so for example, and again, spoiler territory, so close your ears, guys, if you don't want spoilers. But the mission, the Titan mission, perfect place to, again, if you're going to rehash something, rehash the tight stuff. You know, the really survival based storytelling.
Correct.
It's a perfect opportunity right there with a next generation Baldwin.
I completely agree with that. I think because it's a different level to what they've had an amazing progression of technology to get them to where they are, to have this colony on Mars, so to speak, and but you got to think about, if you think about even distances and all the challenges that encompass that. You know, Titan's so far another step away on a big scale.
Oh yeah,
and it feels too easy the way they've done it. It's almost, yeah. I don't know if you've watched. Is it last week's episode? They did encounter some problems, but it's just not captured the way the problems were captured in the earlier seasons.
Well, it was told from the third perspective, wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
And that was, you know, if they'd have done an entire episode on that crew, then I'd have respected that more.
Yeah, I think
because you're showing the stakes of what's actually happening.
But that's the thing, dear. They've taken the issues on the colony, on the Mars colony, is taking precedence. It's all about the conflicts there. And to be honest, I'm not really interested. I don't find it interesting.
No,
I think you're right. I think I would have found something happening in the ship, the problems they're having there, the challenges they're having there, getting a little bit more personal with all the crew and maybe their relationships and conflicts, etc. I think that would have been far more interesting than what's going on back on this colony, which I think they're really, I don't know, putting too much emphasis on it, which is not necessary because it's kind of done before. It's already been done.
Yeah.
And it's I agree. I think you made a good point there. I think I agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
And I could probably do without the peacekeepers, to be fair, and that entire storyline. It makes Mars feel like a bit of a prison colony, and I'm not overly keen on that idea.
Yeah, I guess maybe they're going. I kind of thought maybe they're going for the whole kind of class kind of allegory that the Expanse has, in that, like, obviously the universe of the Expanse, you have Earth, which is where most people are on UBI, Universal Basic Income. You have Mars, at least at the beginning of the show, which is full of like ambitious people. They're terraforming the planet. Then you have the Belters, who are in the outer rings, who are kind of the worker bees of the solar system, for want of a better term, who are historically being quite disadvantaged and kind of taken advantage of by Earth and Mars, the two kind of big powers in the system. So I kind of always thought that was what they were doing with Mars, and that's why they're doing it for All Mankind. And I kind of get that, because you need to create that kind of animosity, for want of a better term, between Earth and Mars. Otherwise it's not realistic. Then what happens in the Expanse, obviously a war between Earth and Mars, and then essentially being kind of enemies that have signed a treaty, if that makes, do you know what I mean? Otherwise so I understand that from the point of view of world building.
Oh, absolutely. You know, but as I said earlier, there's very little. Okay, you have to show uprising on Mars, definitely, but you don't really see much of the Earth side of things. It's very one-sided this season. And I find that really interesting because there's a massive part, there's a massive missed opportunity there to get things from Earth's perspective when it comes to Mars and what's happening. Because if you think, I mean, he covered it a little bit in the last season. And I don't know about you guys, but I kind of missed Daniel Stern. I thought his character was brilliant. Old Marv. I don't think it was in this season for other reasons, but but I think they kind of it's a very Mars-centric story. But I don't have we actually been on the moon yet in season 5? Have we actually been to the moon, or is it just literally like a way station?
I don't know if we have.
No, it feels like it's become a bit of a way station.
Which is a shame, because I think the best stories were about the moon in this whole series.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it started losing its hold, after since the Mars stuff, and then now the Titan stuff. But I think Watson has made a great point as well. Yeah, it's there. It is putting together the pieces. If there is going to be an unofficial link with the Expanse, and if that's the case, then it's the necessity is there. But I just feel we're still watching this as a separate show, and we've got to be entertained as well. And I just feel that element of entertainment has been lost now. And like you suggested, if they'd done or focused a little bit more on how this particular crew is getting on with its travel to quite a distance, which is not going to take 2 minutes. It's going to take some time. There's going to be inevitably problems along the way. Then that might have endeared us or got us a bit more involved in what in the show, if that makes sense. But it's just been about all this stuff going on Mars, and it's like Titan's just a little subplot. It's a tiny little subplot, which doesn't make sense because it's in the show. It's a historic event.
Yes, it absolutely is. And in some ways, it's because it's unity of the crew, and they're stepping out onto Titan, and it's not really treated with any kind of gravitas. It's just, oh look, we're here.
Yeah, we're here. That's it. Exactly.
That's how it felt.
It did feel like that.
And Watch Nerd, I would recommend you watch Supernatural. Definitely 100%. Both of you, to be fair. I'd recommend you watch it. It's a great show. Do the first 5 seasons and then stop.
Okay. How many? Do you know? There's as many episodes in each season?
Yeah, they're typically full seasons, mate. I think season 3 is about 16 episodes because they made that a little bit shorter. But for the most part, yeah, it's full 22 episode seasons. So, and they're 45 minutes a pop. So,
and it's not. Is it connected with any other series that I have to watch as well, or
it's completely its own thing, mate.
Perfect. All right, brilliant.
And I mean, there's been spin-offs of it here and there. I think they did an animated show and then a prequel show, but it you don't need to watch them.
Okay,
they're best forgotten. Season 6 onwards, there was definitely some fun to be had, and they did have some fun with the concept of the show and some of the wacky things that happened. But main story wise, it's 5 seasons and then stop. Currently watching it with my son. We're on about midway through season 4, and I've said to him, so we'll stop watching it together at season 5, and if he wants to continue, he can, but I've advised him not to do so. And I've also advised him to do the same when it comes to the Alien franchise. So we watched Alien and we watched Aliens. And I said, right, and after that, there was no more Alien films made. And he goes, but was there? And I says, yes, there was, but there's not. And he goes, well, I'm not going to watch them. What happens? And I told him what happens, and he goes, thank you for saving me from that. And I says, there's Predator 1 and Predator 2. There's no other Predator movies after that. Terminator 1, Terminator 2, nothing happens after that. I told him what happened in the other films, and he goes, my God. I says, now you know why my childhood was awesome. And your childhood, sorry, you're going to have to borrow mine.
Brilliant.
Because they don't really, my kids don't have any particular, they don't have action stars anymore. Not really.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I'm sorry, but you cannot count MCU actors as action stars. They're not. No. The last true action star that's still going is Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You've got Chris Hemsworth. and he's a fantastic action star, but he's not of the same ilk as the 80s action stars, your Schwarzeneggers, your Stallones, your Van Dammes, your Bruce Willis. It was a different era altogether.
I feel so blessed that I've lived through those eras. I honestly feel so blessed, because I think, for me, I've said it on so many comments on YouTube or Facebook, or whatever they might be, where there might be an article about or a video about something like this, where they're looking back at the old stuff, and you just say that it wasn't just for TV and film. For me, even the music, radio, everything seemed to be. It's something that kids could almost, I wouldn't say aspire to, because you can't aspire to be a predator. Well, maybe you can, I don't know, but you know what I mean. It's something where it's iconic. I think maybe that's the word I'm looking for.
Iconic,
and it really holds a massive value, into the sense that you get so, again, invested in these things. When I saw Terminator, the first Terminator film, I was blown away. And then when I saw the sequel, I couldn't even speak for about half an hour. I went with a few friends, and we went to have a kebab afterwards. And they were going, "Well, you're right, Neil. You're just sitting there." And I just keep thinking about the film. I just couldn't believe what I'd just seen.
Yeah.
And it was rare. It was a rare thing where a sequel actually, in some cases, outdo the original.
Yeah.
Normally, you'd like, for example, for me, Jaws is the only Jaws film. I think everything that came after it, I wasn't too enamored with. I thought Jaws was a masterpiece. But and there's been so many others as well, where the first one, why don't you just leave it alone at that, and that's it, be done with it.
Yeah.
But in the cases of Alien and then Aliens, Terminator, the 3 or 4 you just cited, actually you could put the sequel on a par, if not better.
Yes.
And we had that in our era, as of adolescence, and maybe a little bit older in my case. It just, you felt wonderment as well.
Yeah.
All the kids of this generation has is the internet, YouTube, TikTok, and I just think, I find, I mean, it could be just me, because I'm not in their shoes, but I find that a very shallow second, if that makes sense, to what we had. We had some real strength, if that makes sense, in things that we watched, listened to, all that kind of stuff. Anything to do with the escapism of reality. I think we had some real good, powerful stuff, which I don't think it's very far and few between now. We do get the one-offs, as we've been discussing, for Mankind early seasons or things like that, which are quality. But it's very hard. You have to look really hard to find it and to be able to resonate with it. So I think we were blessed. I feel very old, but I'm happy that I'm this age, because I got to see all of that, and I got to see it evolve as well, in a good way, up to a certain point too. So
and there was a degree of we've said this before, care, attention, love, care, and attention, to the concept of a piece of entertainment. Yes, it's always been driven by money. You've got to make money. The stars have to earn money, and they become these mega stars and everything like that. And that's great. That's fine. All fine and dandy. But you can tell with the sheer amount of effort that went into these movies, just how much love there was for the craft. Now, I think one of the biggest downfalls of motion pictures has actually been CGI, and it's a double-edged sword, of course, but you go back to the days of practical effects. I find practical effects so much more convincing than CGI. Don't get me wrong, okay, AI is doing a great job. It's doing a hell of a lot better than it was a few years ago. It does a great job of blending images together, video together. It's getting better and better every single day. And pretty soon it's going to be so convincing you won't know the difference between AI and real life. That scares the hell out of me, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
The fact that you can now make character action stars from the 80s fight Iron Man, for frick's sake. It's insane what can be done now. But those earlier days, and this is nostalgia talking to a degree, those earlier days of practical effects, American Werewolf in London, that
Oh,
transformation that they
amazing.
filmed, the effort that they put into that to make it look as convincing. And Terminator 1, it hasn't held up visually, but you can still see the love that they put into that animatronic, not the animatronic, the stop motion Terminator scenes. You can see the limitations, the restrictions they had. And in some ways, those restrictions breed greater creativity rather than simply saying, oh, yeah, we'll sort that out in post with some CGI, with some green screen. And it should speak volumes that all the MCU films, action scenes have been filmed on green screen. The Phantom Menace was predominantly filmed on green screen. It lacks so much presence and so much depth that it just seems hollow in comparison.
Didn't Ian McKellen hate that in Lord of the Rings? Didn't even Sir Christopher Lee hate that as well? I think even in Soul he hated it. It just didn't like it because they're classical actors, you see, and they're like we're talking to a puppet or we're talking to a green screen, and they just found it, and they still did a remarkable job. Don't get me wrong, but
visually stunning.
But I mean it's it does, and the funny thing is there's actually an example of the difference between actual models and using effects, even in original Star Trek. If you think about, they tried to do something different with Star Trek 5. If you remember, they used that light. Is it the light? I can't remember the light technology with the ships in. And then they went back. I think they reverted back to the models. If you think back to Star Trek Undiscovered Country, and the difference is night and day. It's so much better in Undiscovered Country. Even when that scene, which is one of my favourite scenes in film Trek, if not Trek as a whole, where they finally find a way to beat the bird of prey, and Kirk gets up and he does that fire. That scene gives me goosebumps every time I replayed that. God knows how many times. But it's a model. It's a Klingon model, ship of the model. It's a model being blown to bits, and it makes it. It actually, you can see the difference. And I think you're right. I think that's the love and care, because it took time and it took effort. If you think about the old days, if you think about the original cartoons that came out in the 1930s and stuff, every scene is drawn, every frame is drawn. God, I don't know how they did it. If you look back now, because now they've got this advancement with technology where you can just program a few things in, and I'm sure it's still quite hard to do. But in those days, every frame was drawn as a separate picture. I mean, and then some of these early animation films some of them were 19 minutes long. Can you imagine how much care, how much effort that took? I think it was so undervalued for what they were doing. And when you mentioned the American Werewolf in London, I think that won an Oscar, didn't it? That scene where they do the transition. I'm sure it won an Oscar for makeup or something. I'm pretty sure it did. But yeah, it was incredible.
Well, if you look at, for example, Watch Nerd, you'll remember it was Search for Spock, wasn't it? The 40th last year before.
Yes, it was amazing. Yeah, maybe 2024.
Yeah, and then we didn't go together, but we both went to respective cinemas to see that, and it held up on a massive theatre screen. It held up. The visuals were absolutely breathtaking, especially when the close-ups of the Klingon ship and the little whatever the female character's name is, her little ship. The models look superb on the big screen, and there's something to be said for the likes of Aliens, for example, with the models that they used there. Yeah, okay, you can tell when the troop carrier, it's the troop carrier, isn't it? When that crashes, you can tell it's a model, and it looks like a little bit sort of like something out of Red Dwarf, but it doesn't matter because it's all part of the experience. You have that expectation as a filmmaker that the audience are going to meet you halfway with this stuff.
Yes.
You know, that they're going to say, okay, look, you're trying to depict a ship crashing in the background and people just about dodging debris that's flying at them. You do your best to create that, and I, as the viewer, will fill in the blanks and suspend my disbelief to an extent where it all forms together. And that's what we had as an audience. That's the skill we had as an audience, to be able to meet the filmmakers halfway. Now, of course, with CGI, and now, of course, with AI, that bridge has come right to our doorstep. And we need make no effort. It's almost taken the magic away.
Yeah,
and that's why I love practical effects so much.
Yeah, no, there's something to be said about it. It really is.
Yeah, and we've said many times that new Trek looks pretty. The overall design of the show looks shoddy, but what they do show looks pretty. I can say that the Strange New Worlds Enterprise, although it's been moderately redesigned, it's still, the shots of it still look gorgeous.
No, they do.
In Picard season 3, when we see the Enterprise D, it looks freaking beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
In some ways, it looks too beautiful. You know, that's not in content. We're not contesting that. It does look gorgeous, but something off about it. I just prefer seeing a model. Now with modern gimbal technology and rigs that you could build, you can make a model do anything. You make a model do anything. You don't need CGI. But it's just too easy to do now.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot of like AI slop as well. You get more AI slop. Yeah. So.
But it's about maximizing profits. That's where they sit. They sit as high profits. So it's easier to do. So they're not going to be spending loads on hiring tons of staff to get the model to work, to get it to do this, to get it to set it up, blah, blah, blah. Film these scenes, it might not work the first time, whereas they could do everything on a computer, and if it goes wrong slightly, they just press a few buttons and they adjust it, and of course that will save time and money, in my opinion. The software that they use initially to acquire to be able to do the CGI is probably very expensive, I admit that, but once it's there and that investment is done, it's a sunk cost. Now they've got all of that. So I think money plays a huge factor, and this is what you were saying about Watchmen. You hit the nail on the head when you're saying that some series, if they'd ended after maybe 3, which is probably the sweet spot after 3 seasons, that's a great time to finish a show. 3, maybe stretch it to 4, possibly in some cases. But with most of things, Walking Dead's a huge example.
Yeah.
Walking Dead went on forever and ever and ever because they saw a cash cow in it, not because they wanted to do good storytelling. I mean, so many people switched off after season 6. They just got fed up with it. It was just overkill. And then from there, they've still gone ahead and they're still continuing to do loads and loads of spin-offs and things. Yeah. And you think, mate, it's done. It's run its course. It ran its course a long, long time ago. Stop. Just stop now. But they won't, because they see money in it. It's a cash cow. And I think, unfortunately, I think back in the old days, of course, these production companies and all the people involved, they needed to earn money, and they needed, because that's what they were doing it for, as well as the love they probably had for it. But I think for the priority was quality. That was the priority, and then from there it's maybe the profits are a byproduct. Now the thought process is profit first, and to help with everything else.
Yeah, and I suppose really, I think I was saying earlier about, and I've said in previous streams about video games, and Angel's Pierre's just made my point for me, I suppose. That you can make a AAA game look gorgeous. The Last of Us Part 2, you and I have differing opinions on The Last of Us Part 2, Gunnar, but The Last of Us Part 2 is undeniably a beautiful looking game. Graphically speaking, it's incredible. And everyone at Naughty Dog who was involved in the look and feel of that game in terms of the environments and the character design, they deserve awards and medals, not only for what Druckmann and Naughty Dog put them through, but also for what they outputted was fantastic. Too bad the story was utter trash. and the game was made half the money it could have made, and it pissed off a lot of people and ended The Last of Us as a franchise. But getting past that and the disingenuous behaviour on the part of Druckmann, it still looked incredible. And the new Resident Evil looks incredible. Pragmata looks incredible. But what good is it if the story's not there to drive it, if the gameplay is not there to drive it? And I'm a very much a classic gamer, in the sense that I can go back to all my older games and enjoy the living crap out of them, and they can be graphically inferior to anything that's created now. I love to stream older games because they had fewer resources, and they had to innovate. They had to what's the word? What's the word? I'm really struggling with my words today. But they had to sort of work harder and bring that try and bring that quality closer to the closer to us, closer to perfection. And it really showed when they put so much care and attention into it. When James Cameron made Aliens, you see the behind the scenes footage of them trying to get the alien queen puppet to work.
Yeah. And
the lengths they went to ensure that. And then you look at the Terminator 2 behind the scenes footage, and you see the effort that went into creating the look for the T-1000, and all the prosthetics that they made. Now, one click of a mouse, it's not that simple, of course, but one click of a mouse in comparison, and you've created all manner of things, which is fine. But don't expect as an audience to give a cripper if you're not putting the effort in. And there's just no love in it anymore. And again, there are honourable exceptions with a lot of films that have been released over the last couple of years, the last decade. There are honourable mentions, but for the most part, the love isn't there.
I think. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I think it's also respect from the people that might just not look at a film or a TV show and just take it for what it is, but actually might, like what you just mentioned there, the behind the scenes stuff and how it actually works and how they all put it together. I think with the constraints in technology and the constraints maybe even in budget and all of that stuff that the older filmmakers had or TV shows had, it's not just about the love, but it's also the respect from a viewer to say that, wow, you've had to go through so much to get that onto the screen. I totally respect what you've done. It's an incredible piece of work, given what you had to hand to be able to put it together.
Yeah.
And I think now it's almost a given. It's almost a given. If you think about what you mentioned earlier with AI, you think about, the channel I mentioned earlier, the Monumental. That as I said, I'm going to rewatch that thing that he's put out, because it's brilliant. But think about it. He's just someone who's on his own,
Mm.
And he's bought some software, and what he's done, he's worked hard. He said it took months to do it.
Yeah.
But even then, just one person has been able to put this thing together, and it looks bloody good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, it looks amazing. If you watch it, you'll know what I mean, DM. It is incredible. Yeah. But that's one person, because he's got the technology to be able to do it.
Yeah.
If you think back now, 30, 40, 50 years, when all these great films were there, you think about Star Wars. The original one was in 1977, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Even Jaws, which I mentioned earlier, 1975, to get this rubber thing to look. I mean, you watch it now and you can tell that some places it looks a bit clunky, but you accept that because there's been so much work that went into it. You think about 1975, my God, we didn't even have faxes, I don't think.
No.
So think about it, how they've managed to do this. So it's about the respect as well, the respect value, as well as the love and the care and attention. And I think that goes a long way to put that stamp of approval on stuff like this. Whereas now I think it's just a lot far easier, maybe a lot costly initially, as I said, but after that, I think it's far easier now to be able to produce these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Xell mentioned there's only 3 Indiana Jones movies. Oh, I agree with that as well. And it cracks me up because Phoebe Waller-Bridge, creating the new Lara Croft series with Sophie Turner as Lara Croft. And again, there's a lack of self-awareness, I suppose, with that casting, and casting's really important, because if you create a character with a particular look, for example, and I'm gonna pick an example out of thin air, Solid Snake. Solid Snake is a well-known video game character that has a very specific look. He's gruff, he's aged. If you're talking about Metal Gear Solid, he's aged, and he is. He has dark hair. He has a sort of a chiseled jaw. He's very well built. But he's sleek, and he's got a rather gruff voice, voiced by one of my favourite people, David Hayter. Fantastic character. Now, if you're gonna put the Metal Gear movie's been in limbo for decades now, but if you're gonna cast someone like Solid Snake, for example, you need an actor that actually looks like him. Because, no disrespect, you're not going to cast... I'm going to use an example from the chat earlier. You're not going to cast Elliot Page in the role of Solid Snake, are you?
Probably not, no.
And you're not going to, you're not going to, I don't know... You're not going to cast John Goodman in that role. You're not going to cast Sydney Sweeney in that role. Because it's not a fit. It doesn't work. You need someone who looks like the character. And Sophie Turner, I'm sorry, but she's not Lara Croft. The character of Lara Croft is very distinct.
Yeah.
She has, dare I say, distinct features. But those distinct features I wouldn't even say Sydney Sweeney's qualified to play her. I think, honestly, the best Lara Croft we've had has got to be Angelina Jolie, because she sank into the character, and she just radiated Lara Croft. Perfect casting. But then you've got the likes of Bella Ramsey being cast as Ellie. Absolute miscast. So casting is really important. Why are we... What has gone wrong with people in casting. It's like, oh, they're talking about now they're openly trying to find a new James Bond. I dread to think who they're going to get to play James Bond next. I think the drinker put on X or Twitter or whatever it is a picture of Pedro Pascal saying, "I dare you, I double dare you," or something like that. It's like, please don't.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
You know, oh my God. I find it absolutely incredible, the casting choices. I mean, you know, speaking of Elliot Page being cast as what was it? Cast as, is it Troy in Odyssey, in Nolan's new film, that is taking so much heat right now because of the miscasting. It's like, I'm sorry, but you're not going to get me to believe that these actors are these characters. To be fair, it just seems like a really cheap theatre production. So, yeah, Ncuti Gatwa at this rate for James Bond. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. That's the way it looks like it's going. Casting is very, very, very important in a movie, and they just keep messing things up because, you know, I've sort of kept relatively quiet about it, but the new Resident Evil film. Now they're not actually using any of the characters from the games in the Resident Evil film. The film that's based on games, they're not using any of the characters. Zach Kreger is just putting his own spin on it and a completely unrelated character. And I'm sorry, but that's just it's insane. Don't get me wrong; it's probably going to be a good film, but it's not going to be a good Resident Evil film. And again, you're not giving people what they want. A Resident Evil film, it will be like it would essentially be like a Star Trek film set on a Betazoid transport with two people playing chess. They have absolutely no ties to any of the other main characters in any of the shows, and then just calling it Star Trek. Even if there was a I don't know, a space battle, it would just be completely unrelated. So why even bother? No one's gonna be interested. And again, you know, with that IP, people have been burned in the past. You know, we got the Mila Jovovich Resident Evils, which I to this day I still find unfathomably dull and ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Cooney said, I think Michael Biehn was a very underrated actor. Michael Biehn was fantastic.
I'm going to probably drop and go to bed, but it's been great chatting to you guys and great seeing everyone on stream in the chat.
It's been great. It's been great to be back, watching it. It's been lovely to speak to you again.
Likewise. I hope everyone has a great weekend and take care.
Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
No worries. Cheers, guys. Bye.
No worries.
I've been here an hour longer than I said.
It's usually the case when great conversation takes place.
No, it's been good. It's been good. I don't know if people know this actor. If you're talking about James Bond, I've to be honest, I've never been a big James Bond fan. I've watched a few of the Sean Connery and the Roger Moore. I'm not one of these, you know, oh my God, the next James Bond film's coming and I'm getting all excited. I'm not I'm not being a big fan, but there's one actor which I watched a series called The Gentleman. It was based on the film The Gentleman, and there's a chap called Theo James. And when I saw him in The Gentleman, I thought, God, if they are going to look for a new James Bond, he really fits the mold.
Theo James, who did he play?
He's been in a series called The Gentleman. He's been in a few things.
Who did he play?
In The Gentleman.
Yeah.
Not the film, the TV series he played. Oh, what's his name? Hang on a sec. Eddie
fucking hell! Eddie, the main character.
Yeah, the main character.
Fucking brilliant show and a brilliant film.
Yes. What's his name? Oh God, what's his name? The English actor.
Yeah, I know which one you're on about.
What's he talking about? Hugh Grant. He was brilliant in the
Oh,
film.
he was fantastic. He was
So different. His character, what we know of him, he was superb in the film. And then the series is kind of it's related but not related to the film. And the main character, Theo James, he plays Eddie Halstead.
Yeah,
I think he would be a really good James Bond. I was watching him, thought, I mean, I'm not a James Bond fan, so maybe I'm not qualified to say. But if I was thinking of a James Bond, if someone asked me just as a casual fan, I would think, James is in for a shout because he's got that poise, I think, that could make a good James Bond. So, but you know where he's going to go. You know who we're going to get. It might even be a gender swap. You never know. You never know.
And if it is, again, I think this era is dying a death, as it well deserves to, because it's destroyed so many. So many art forms now, and people are just sick of it. You know, and it's this shift now. People have had enough. IPs are dying, and I think they're backing away from it. I think they'd be royally daft to gender swap or to put a female 007 in. Nobody would watch it. Nobody would watch it. Yeah,
you can see it happening, though, can't you? You can see it happening.
100%, you can see it happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I read before the stream, no word of a lie, they're doing a all-female cast Expendables movie.
No.
I'm sorry, who's going to watch that? And this is nothing against women. This is nothing against female actresses. This is nothing against them.
Can I stop you there? For me, the Expendables, and I think this is what the reason was when they actually created it, or Sylvester Stallone was heavily involved in that. It was a throwback and a nod to the 80s action heroes, which were, at the time, were predominantly male.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with anything else. That's what they created it for, so that the old fans, a little bit of a nostalgia and a trip down memory lane, could see their favourite action heroes from that era get together and fight together. Yeah. That's what the whole premise was about. Yeah. Now, if you're going to do a complete gender swap, and like you said, I've got nothing against that. What did I say earlier about For All Mankind? Who was my favourite character in For All Mankind? It was Molly Cobb. Yeah, the female. For goodness' sake. Yeah. It's nothing to do with that. It's about the context. If they want to do I don't know, a superhero film, an action hero film with all females, don't do it the Expendables type label. Create a new one. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. Go with it. I'm just so sick of it. I'm so sick of it, DM. I think it's the first I've heard of this. And I'm sick to this. I feel sick.
Let me see if I can pull up
unbelievable
some articles. Bloody hell.
Just unbelievable. I can't understand it. Female characters for me are a big part. I mean, when I watched Star Wars in 1977, Leia was she was, I think, the strongest character in the film, female, because she was the only one that actually stood up to Darth Vader face to face, told him what she thought of him. Yeah, everyone else was shit scared of him.
And then you go for the
Ripley.
Ripley straight away.
I loved her. I was 9 years old and I loved her. I thought, wow, she's amazing. I don't know if you remember a series called The Bionic Woman. I loved the character Jamie Summers who was in that. Mm-hmm. All women. So it's not that it's nothing to do with, oh God, they're going to do a female. It's the context. Yeah. If you're going to do an action hero film, it's all female based. Again, I've got no problem with that, but don't use the Expendables label, please.
No. So it's, according to the Hollywood Reporter, are you ready for this? Calm yourself, Guna. Calm yourself. The Expendables.
You are.
The Expendables.
Sorry, I just got that. It took me a moment. Are you? This is a joke. You're winding me up, aren't you?
No.
You're winding me up like you did about Alida, right? Tell me you're winding me up.
The Expendables.
Sorry to swear, piss off. Seriously.
Female action spin-off of the Expendables firing up again.
No.
Eclectic Pictures and Hollywood Ventures Group unveiled the news at the Cannes Film Festival as part of the features slate of globally commercial films.
Oh, please.
So, are teaming on a female-driven expansion of the Expendables franchise, tentatively titled The Expendables.
I'm sorry, that's hilarious.
It was...
That's hilarious, Tim. What a joke! It's so stupid. It's funny.
So, I mean, I'm not going to go into the mass of the article. It sounds like it's not getting off the ground just yet. But the fact that there's even talk of it is just beyond stupidity.
Oh, do you know, it's...
I'm sorry, but
when is
know
the
your
fatigue going
audience.
to hit about all of this? When is the fatigue? When is the fatigue going to hit with all this? Because it's getting so out of hand now.
But
It's getting so out of hand.
it's your audience. It's your audience, Gunnar.
God's sake.
I'm sorry.
I'll say
Look,
it again.
it's
Go on, sorry.
It's sorry, mate. It's written in our DNA that predominantly males love the action film.
Yes.
Okay, it's not controversial. It's just the way it is.
And it's not sexist either.
It's not sexist either. Predominantly, males lean towards action films. Females lean towards romance films and chick flicks and feel good movies. Your Hallmark stuff. And I've been married twice, okay, and I've had however many girlfriends in the past, and I can assure you that even though there's what we call what I call crossplay between the two, that my wife can sit and enjoy a Die Hard, and I can sit and enjoy Gilmore Girls because I think it's a fun show with great characters. And it's not because it's a lovey-dovey show, it's because there are elements of that show that I actually like, and there's elements of things that I like that my wife enjoys. But predominantly, the split is still there.
It is, 100%.
And it's the movie and television industry has been has been following that guidestone for so many years. No one watched Ocean's 8.
Yeah, exactly.
They watched Ocean's 11. Very few people watched Ocean's 12, and even less people watched Ocean's 13. But Ocean's 11, people watched it. Ocean's 8, they didn't. Female Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
What a flop that was compared to the original.
And it's because you can't make something like that appeal to the opposite gender. As you know, it was always the old story, wasn't it? When the guys dragged to the cinema, it's to see a chick flick. When the girls dragged to the cinema, it's to see an action film or a sci-fi film.
Yeah, but it's generally factual, Liam.
It is factual.
This has nothing to do with being sexist or, well, you this and you bigger. It's something to do. Hang on, that's fact. It is fact. When the previous girlfriends I've had, when we used to watch films, I would drag them to watch all the action stuff.
Yeah.
Which they kind of just went along with. But if I truly asked them, oh, why did you take me here at the end? I wasn't really that keen. But then they would do the same. Then I'd watch some of the stuff that they enjoyed. And actually, to be fair, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, I like films like Notting Hill. I liked Love Actually, actually.
Yeah.
I thought they were actually quite good films. But predominantly, that came from the girlfriend. Yeah. That was like, right, we got to watch this. Let's go and watch Pretty Woman. Things like this. And I'm like, do we have to? And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. And that's what I was thinking, actually, this was not a bad film, to be fair. But the initial attraction, I would veer towards more of the action stuff.
Yes.
And the killing stuff and the war stuff and the battle sequence stuff and all of that thing. And that the other side would veer more to, as you said, the rom-coms and all of this thing.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. You're right. It's in the DNA, and it's the way we are wired. We are wired that way. It's nothing to do with, we don't like it because women shouldn't be doing that. No, it's nothing to do with that. You want to create the Expendables, well, just create a new franchise completely. And you can have all the women. Look, I enjoyed the story about Wonder Woman. There are, the Amazon race of women, and they're all women. There's no men in sight, and I still enjoy it. Yeah. So does that make me sexist? Of course it doesn't.
No.
But it's about context and a time and a place and doing fitting the right story for the right reason as well. This is almost like, well, you men have done it, so we're going to do it now. Well, I'm sorry, I can name loads and loads of action heroes from the 80s, male action heroes. I'm struggling to name 4 female ones. Yeah, okay, maybe you can have Sigourney Weaver in there and things like that, but she was more sci-fi, not so much action hero.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. I can't really name many female action heroes, and that was the point and the premise for that whole franchise.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what to say.
No, at the end of the day, you know, you have to. It was such a fundamental basis for the entertainment industry. I can't believe it's been forgotten. I can't believe it's been shoved to the side. You know, and I honestly, I don't think there's a lot of women out there that want to see a female led action.
No,
movie.
you're right. They're not.
They don't. Because they're not interested in it. For the love of God, they're not interested in it.
No, they're not. They're not. Look, this might sound controversial. Listen, there's one thing, right? It's completely unrelated to anything we're talking about. So I don't know. You obviously know. I probably know that I'm a big football fan.
Yeah.
I cannot abide, and I'm not saying this with respect. I'm not saying it because I can't listen to when they have female commentators commentating on football. I just can't. Now, if I know a ton of females who are the same as me. They don't like it either.
Yeah.
But they do it because it's almost like, well, it's equality. No, they don't have the same effect as a male commentator. They just don't. Especially when they get excited and it actually goes right into your head and you're like, oh, please calm down, love. And I know that sounds sexist, but it's just the way it is. And I know I can call up 10 females now who will say, yeah, I agree with you, Neil. And I know because I've talked to them about it. I said, am I being sexist? They go, no, you're not. We hate it as well. It's just one of those things. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be allowed to do it, but it's just one of those things. And it can relate to this film stuff that we're talking about now. It's for me. It's just It's just because a man does something, it doesn't mean the female has to do it.
No,
because I'll tell you something. Men and women have equal strengths for different reasons and different things. Yeah. I would even suggest that women are stronger than men because they go through pregnancy, which probably is a fucking hard thing to do.
Yeah,
especially giving birth.
Yeah,
and that makes them super strong in my eyes. Right? That's something a man could never do. I don't even think we could tolerate the pain, but they do it.
But they complement each other,
and that might be a shallow example, but it's just an example of many things. Women have strong traits in certain areas, men have certain. It's just the way we're built. That's why we're different. That's why they're there differently to then be able to procreate and produce kids. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Like you say, it's written in societal DNA, and there are movements to try and go against the grain on this one. But I will use my marriage as an example. Right, and I would always do this. My wife and I get along so well. I love my wife to death. She's an absolute angel, but she's not. She's a demon. At the same time, it's so well balanced, and everyone's like that. But our marriage is pretty strong, and it works so well simply because she is like. I can't even use a word to describe how good she is at organisation. She's got great organisational skills. She manages the finances. Okay, she sorts the kids' schooling out, and I try to take some of that off of her. I do a lousy job of it because I'm not that well organised and I've got a terrible memory and everything like that. But so she'll handle that side of things. Stuff goes wrong in the house. The first person she comes to is me.
Exactly.
If things need fixing, if the cars needs repairing, I'm the man. I've been under the cars. I've been fitting new exhausts, doing servicing, doing the brakes for the last 15 years of our, the fact that when we've been together, or a little bit shorter than that, but round it off. And I've put the shelves up. I've mounted the TVs. I've sorted the electronics. I've repaired all the switches and the consoles and everything. I've you know, I build the furniture and all of that. That's the stuff that I handle.
Exactly.
And it's a balance. It's a balance between the two.
The word you used earlier and what Xell has just put is exactly that. It's compliments.
Yes.
Complement each other. Men and women, they complement each other. They share their strengths and weaknesses, and then it just works fits like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah,
and that's what it is.
And you find a lot of we've gone into marriages and everything, but you find with a lot of marriages that fail for any other reasons than if you. Not talking about infidelity or anything like that, but a lot of marriages that fail because there's a failure to communicate, there's a failure to compromise, and there's a failure to complement. Women who will have an expectation, have certain expectations of a man to be anything other than a man.
I agree. Yeah,
and the same, I don't know whether necessarily for me personally, it's not the same, and it hasn't been the same. That I'd expect a woman to be more like a man. Because I don't want that, because I'm looking for the opposite of me.
Yeah.
But a similar opposite of me. And this is something that the entertainment industry is sort of either forgotten or pushed to one side. The fact that men like explosions and women like emotions. Now I can, and
that's a great line. Is that yours?
What's that?
Is that line yours? I think you should publish.
I've just made that up, to be fair.
That's brilliant.
Whether or not I've subconsciously copied it from somewhere, but yeah, men like explosions, women like emotions. It's
brilliant.
It's so true, though. It's and predominantly, little boys will go for the action men. Little girls will go for the Barbie. Now, occasionally you'll find a boy playing with a Barbie and a girl playing with an action man.
Yeah,
it happens. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that's how we're wired. So knowing that information, and it's been proven that this new movement or this this change in Hollywood has failed. Going against the grain has failed. It hasn't worked.
No, I'm sorry, it hasn't.
And so if you're going to change James Bond to be female,
I can seriously see that happening.
I can see it happening. Why make it James Bond at all?
Exactly, just do another character, for God's sake.
And here's the thing: how many female-led spy movies have there been that have been box office successes?
Yeah.
There are undoubtedly some great examples of it working, but you're talking about the level of James Bond. If they're not going to work to the level of James Bond has worked, how do you expect a female James Bond to even approach the level of the best female spy film?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Even if you make it Jane Bond, Jenny Bond, it doesn't matter. The Ghostbusters all-female reboot didn't work. Now, you could argue, you could make the argument that it's not that they're women. The fact that they're women, that it didn't work. Then perhaps they chose the wrong cast. They could have made it a gritty or a female-led Ghostbusters movie. A gritty and dark one. It may have been a success, but really, the original Ghostbusters movies worked so well for a lot of people. It didn't necessarily work for me. I wasn't a huge fan of Ghostbusters growing up.
No, me neither. Yeah,
and I think that it's got its fan base, but I'm not really one of them. I can appreciate the Ghostbusters franchise for what it is, but
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think only watched the first two. I don't know how many there've been, 4 or 5.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
But as far as I'm concerned, Ghostbusters was always aimed towards the male populace.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So you make an all-female version of that, well, it's not going to be appealing to a bloke. It's just not, because I mean, okay, fair enough. You could say, well, Tomb Raider appeals to blokes. That's because there's a scantily clad woman with a pair of guns shooting things, robbing tombs, and she's got nice big knockers and a nice round bootang. That's why guys like it. Now, I'm sorry, but if you take Elliot Page and put Elliot Page in the role of Lara Croft, it's not going to sell, because the character of Lara Croft doesn't sell the franchise. Lara Croft sells the franchise.
Yeah.
The visual image of Lara Croft. And I always make this I always say this to my lad. One of the quintessential things that made an 80s action movie appeal to guys was it was the explosions, for sure. It was the guns, it was the action, it was the gunfights, the fist fights, and all of that, testosterone driven stuff. But one of the main reasons we always came back is because we knew there would be the obligatory flashing tit shot.
Yeah.
That made us come back all the time. Nudity and all of that good stuff. That wholesome stuff that I was brought up with at the ripe age of 7, seeing Die Hard and Predator and Raw Deal and all those great Arnie films.
I kind of forgot about Raw Deal.
Yeah. All of those classic 80s action movies. Yeah. That's why we always came back. It is one of those reasons that we always came back.
And and that's another thing that's remembered. And from that as well, not just Expendables, but a lot earlier than that, actually, because of 3 action heroes, they produced a franchise of restaurants called Planet Hollywood.
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Willis got together, and they created this, this franchise of restaurants, Planet Hollywood. If you remember, where they had
I remember
memorabilia from all the films, they even had. I remember when I went to the one in, was it Piccadilly Circus? When I walked in, you got the Enterprise hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
So it was all there.
Yeah.
It was all there. So, that was quite appealing. But, so even from there was something that was created. And I'm sorry to say, but it wasn't from a female background. It was from a male background, because it was to do with the action heroes of the 80s. That's what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And, women can appreciate male action stars as well. Of course they do regularly. Of course they do.
Of course they do.
Because that's part of the appeal. That's where their appeal is coming from.
Yeah.
It's seeing it's seeing Chris Hemsworth topless. Of course it is. The guys aren't interested in seeing that predominantly. We're interested in the Extraction version of Chris Hemsworth. That's what we're interested in. And he did a superb job, and they are 2 superb action films. Phenomenal.
Extraction.
Yeah, Extraction's fantastic.
It's brilliant.
They're fantastic.
If anyone hasn't seen it, really, it's so good.
And Alan Ritchson's new movie, fantastic. Fuck it, hell yes. An alien robot chasing them in the woods. Fucking great.
Which one's that? What film's that?
It's his new one. What's it called? I forget. Chat, help me out. What's Alan Ritchson's new movie?
I think I saw it. It's a massive. It's almost a robot tank.
That's exactly what it is.
I saw it only a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. What's the name of that? Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Regardless, Alan Ritchson, I call him. It's really funny actually. I call him the Big Tree. I call him the Big Tree because he's got a big trunk. Okay, his upper body is fucking inexplicable, and when he plays Jack Reacher, is inexplicable.
I have to watch Reacher. It's supposed to be brilliant, isn't it? I've not seen Reacher.
Oh, you've got to watch Reacher, dude. Make that top of your list. Reacher's fantastic. Yeah. But I said to the wife, it was so funny. I said to the wife, he's just a big tree, and I can tell you want to climb the tree. Because she does go, yes, the big tree. So what I did, what I did for her for it was either Christmas or a birthday, is I got her a health and safety sign with the big circle with the line through it, the red circle with the prohibited sign. That said, "Do not climb the trees," and I stuck a picture of Alan Richardson in there, and then gave her that framed. Because again, that's why she likes to watch Reacher, because it's got Alan Richardson in it, and he's a big tree, big muscly tree. But and she can appreciate the action, but I like it because of the action.
Yeah, I enjoyed that film. And when in some cases you look at it, you think, it's so stupid, but actually I really enjoyed it. I think it was a good old-fashioned action film. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It really was.
And that's why people come. And we veered off of sci-fi a little bit.
Well, that is kind of sci-fi, because it's an alien construct. Well, we believe it to be an alien construct. I think it did hint to that, didn't it, at the end? Because there were more coming or something. So it looks like they're going to do a sequel. It looks like. But
it'd be nice to see. But
can I just to really try and keep positive? I think it deserves its own show. To be fair, but I just want to give it a mention, if you don't mind. And I wanted to do that. We wanted to do that for some time. So I finally caught up with watching the entire Firefly.
Yes.
And then the film as well. I absolutely I fell in love with it. I literally, from the first episode, and I'm not saying that to over dramatize my feelings towards it, it's a fact. Another show, straight away, the first thing I did, I want to learn all the names. All right, so this, and I kept recounting them. How many are there? How many protagonists are there? And all the characters, I was like intrigued by every single one of them. I loved Wash, the pilot. I remember I said to you, it really reminded me of in what's his name, Gordon. What's his name in the pilot from the film, the show we love, Seth MacFarlane's show.
Oh, Gordon.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Gordon. Yes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Gordon Malloy.
That's it.
From the Orville.
There was some real Orville. There was some real. I don't know. I could almost like familiarities between the two.
Yeah.
Even the way he was talking at times, and I think I remember saying to you, I wonder if Seth MacFarlane had a look at that and thought that would make a good pilot, and he's almost maybe put a little bit of that into Gordon's character. I don't know, but there was just such a familiarity there. But every single character had a backstory. There was good development. All right. Some cases I thought the editing was a little bit clunky and the special effects were a little bit but I don't care. It didn't bother me at all. It wasn't about that. It was about the character development. The story was really good. And what they were doing, it was almost simplistic but brilliant at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I loved the show so much, and I think, if you don't mind, at one point in the future we need to do a show on it.
I'm actually thinking next week, to be honest with you.
Possibly. I think what I would like to do, and I know it won't take me long because I'm pretty good when I get into something, I can finish it in 2 or 3 nights. But I think I want to rewatch a few of the episodes before I talk about them, because I was so excited when I watched it the first time. It went so fast. I've now forgotten some of the details in some of the episodes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving you an overall feel of what it meant to me.
Yeah.
I think we might have discussed this, and I think the film. I liked the film. I enjoyed it, and it was probably a way of giving it closure because that's what the fans demanded. But it didn't hit as hard as the series did, if that makes sense to me. The film, it felt even the way it was filmed, it just felt different.
Yeah.
And there was a slight detachment to what I felt. It was still good because it's still Firefly.
Yeah.
But there was a slight detachment with what I had with the series, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
But overall, oh my God. And I hate the fact that they cancelled it. You told me the reason, probably why, because at the time it just wasn't one of those things for its time. Maybe it came out at the wrong time. I don't know. But for me, that one season was some of the best sci-fi and TV that I've seen in a long, long time. And I'm glad that it took me this long to watch it, because there isn't much to watch at the moment. And then to go back and watch that for the first time, I was like, I can't wait for the next episode. I can't wait for the next episode. It was that good for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
And
honestly.
I'm really glad you enjoyed Firefly, because it is one of those very special shows. And yes, it was cancelled way before its time, but it makes, and this is what I was talking about earlier about, you know, if the world was made of gold, gold would not be valuable. And I believe the 13 episodes of Firefly that we did get are just pure gold.
Oh,
there's not an episode that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, it's like almost like, you know, you do even Star Trek, even original
Yeah.
Star Trek, OG Star Trek had those episodes where, like, oh god, this isn't that good, is it?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that's the difference with us, true fans. We have got the kind of the courage to go out and say that actually, yeah, generally OG Trek is just brilliant. It's a masterpiece, but there were some episodes that were absolute naff.
Yeah.
And there are some Star Trek fans sadly out there, and I've met them at conventions, that's blasphemy. You cannot criticize Star Trek at all. And I think, no, you're just lemmings. That's wrong.
Yeah.
At least have some. You've got to be able to be a bit fair and a bit pragmatic when you're maybe debating the quality of something. And I'm sorry, not all of OG Trek was good. Some of it was absolute shite, in my opinion. Some episodes I never want to see again. I've acted as if they never existed. But this show, every single episode was good. Every single episode I enjoyed. There wasn't one that I thought, oh, that was a bit boring, and I wasn't quite sure about that. But it doesn't matter. The next one's going to be great, and it is, and it ends up being great. It wasn't like that.
No,
I enjoyed every single episode.
Well, it was tightly. It was so tightly written, so tightly produced.
Yes.
And
exactly.
And I'm sorry, but I ever since Firefly I first saw Firefly, I had a thing for Jewel Sate.
Yeah.
My God, I still have a thing for Jewel Sate, to be fair. She's Kaylee is absolutely gorgeous. But it's fact that she's so pleasant and so nice, but she's got this rough edge about her.
Yeah, exactly.
It's phenomenal. And like I say, we should definitely do a Firefly.
Yeah, I think if you don't mind, I mean, I don't know whether we do it over. I can try and watch half of it, and then we can talk about the first few episodes or something. I don't know what format you want to take, but I would love to talk about it in some shape or form. But I do want to rewatch some of the episodes again, so that I can just now then take a bit more note, because I think watching it for the first time, it was more about wonderment for me, and because I haven't seen anything. As I said, I've not seen sci-fi this good for so long, because we've just been so inundated with this absolute shite that we've been bombarded with in all different manner of franchises.
Yeah.
This was just a breath of fresh air for me. Ironically, it's a show which is so 26, 24, 25 years old. I don't know when it was first released, but it's a show that's at least 20 years old, and yet it was a breath of fresh air for me because I was watching it for the first time. And I certainly would love to have some kind of level of discussion about it, because I think it merits it. I think it deserves it, to be fair.
Yeah. No, 100%. I know they're trying to bring back the show in an animated form.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea, and I don't
me neither.
think I will bother with it unless I hear that it's really good.
Yeah,
I don't think I shall bother with it. And the main reason for that is it's not a Joss Whedon project. And I made the same point about Buffy. Okay, Buffy was Joss Whedon. It was a great. I thought it was a great show. It had its ups and downs, but predominantly the Buffyverse. I love both the shows. I think they're brilliant. Yeah. They're very well written and very tight. The Buffy writers weren't involved with the new Buffy project, and it ended up not going ahead. For whatever reason, I'm glad that it didn't, because it's not Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon, say what you will about him. I don't care what kind of trouble he's had. The same as I don't care how much of an absolute prick Arnold Schwarzenegger may be. It doesn't bother me, because I'm not interested in them as people. I'm interested in what they do create. Yeah, exactly. You know,
I think for me, the animated show, I think because I was I've become so enamored with the live show, I think it's going to be difficult for me to now watch them as animation. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to relate to it at all as much, because I'm seeing these characters in real life. Well, not real life, you know what I mean, but through the screen, as live film action, if that makes sense. And That's what I relate to. Then to all of a sudden switch to an animated show, it could be good. You're right. The storytelling could be really good, but it's not going to be the same. It's just it's a shame that it ended when it ended. I wish there'd been at least another season, if not 2 more. But we didn't get it. It's one of those things, and I think we just take that one season as an amazing one-off. And thankfully, in a certain way, they did manage to finish the story. As I said, I don't think the film was as high quality as the TV show was, but at least they gave it some kind of closure.
And it's difficult. It's difficult to turn a TV show into a movie.
Of course,
you have to make some fundamental changes for that. But I honestly believe that it was 20th Century Fox, wasn't it? They made some monumental cock-ups with cancellations. And yes, Stephen Bromby, Firefly was 2002 and Serenity was 2005. And if we've said otherwise, I do apologise, but it's more about the era. The 90s, I think, was great for TV. The 80s, I think, was superb for movies.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But I if you're thinking about, for example, Firefly, and its structure as a TV show, and you've got one, you were prematurely cancelled, and you've got one opportunity to finish your story because you know it's not coming back. From that point of view, I think Serenity was superb.
Oh God, yeah, 100% agree.
It had its issues, but it was lovely to see the Serenity with a movie budget, the ship with a movie budget. It was great to see.
It was.
And there was so much to love about Firefly. But like I said, I think we need to do a stream on this, at least one.
Just before I go, I just want to say, look, I'm not criticising the film. I thought the film was great as well. All I'm saying is, for me, the series was so up there. The film just wasn't quite at that level, but that still doesn't make the film bad. I thought the film was very, very good. I mean, I put it in. If you're going to give it scorings like you did in when you was in school, you know, the series gets an A++, and the film Serenity gets an A+. I'm still saying it's up there.
100%.
I just didn't click with it as much as I did with the series. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. But you got to remember, I've watched all of it back to back. So as soon as the series finished, I don't know what the series was I was watching it on. I can't remember what streaming channel it was, but the film wasn't on the same streaming channel. So luckily, I think I managed to find it on Amazon Prime. I can't remember where, but it was a different. So I panicked for a minute because I thought, oh my God, I can't see the film. I was like, aching to watch it. I'm thinking, I can't remember who it was, whether it was James or it was Stephen. One of the guys in Discord said, you've got to watch Serenity, or it might be in a chat in one of the earlier shows. And I'm like, I can't find it, Maria. I'm like, what am I going to do? I was like doing the search bar on all the platforms I've got. And then eventually, I think it was on Prime and it's there. And I thought, oh, thank God. So I was able to watch everything literally back to back. But, oh my God, it was fantastic. It was so damn good. And it's definitely worth a second watch, and I will watch it again. 100%.
Well, I think Serenity. James Caserta said Serenity was a direct rip-off of Blake Seven's storyline. I'm not really sure. I don't remember Blake Seven, to be perfectly honest with you. I can't really speak to that. But what I did like about Serenity is the explanation as to the origin of one of the antagonists of Firefly, and that had an air of mystery around it. I think the origin story of those that the movie covered was superb. The story of the movie was great. It was still as tight as anything, and it was I would say it was a worthy ending to the story of the Serenity. But no, you're absolutely right. The Firefly is a very binge-worthy show. It is shamefully short, but but it's like I said, it's what we did get. I think was as close to perfection as you were going to get for a science fiction show, a sci-fi western as well.
Yeah, exactly, and which is quite unusual, but it worked. It worked so well, and I think if there's anyone in the chat or anyone who watches this on replay who hasn't watched it, and they even if they half like sci-fi, I would strongly recommend it.
Yeah.
You guys recommended it to me. I've watched it, and I'm like, it's some of the best TV that I've seen, as I said, in a very, very long time. I enjoyed it that much, and I loved all the characters. It's unusual because even some shows that I watch, they're going to be maybe one or two characters I can't relate to, and maybe I don't even like. But this was one of the exceptions where actually I liked all the main characters, all of them. I thought they're brilliant, and they each had their own story to tell, and they had their own development as well. And it was so well done. I can't speak highly of it, to be fair. But look, I'm going to let you close off, DM. I'm going to shoot off now. But I just want to say thank you, as always, for having me on. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thanks for all the comments, and I really appreciate all of you and giving me the opportunity to come on here. And it was nice first time ever, I think I've had a whole session with you, and we haven't mentioned that dreaded show that was recently aired. So that's great. So thank you for that.
Reference to it, but yeah, we've not gone into detail.
You know what I mean, yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'll be. I don't think I'm going to have it in me to. If it does air, I don't think I'll be able to do the same with you for another season. I just don't think I can do it.
Well, to be fair, I'm probably not even going to review it.
That's fair enough then. So that's good.
I don't think I'll touch it with a barge pole, and I don't think I'll touch Strange New Worlds with a barge pole. Sorry to disappoint all you people out there. I'm not sure I can survive another season.
No. See, if you do things like this, I know it might gain different people to watch and stuff, but I think this is probably a nice thing to do. I know predominantly it's a Star Trek channel, but it doesn't mean that we can't talk about other sci-fi and stuff. And I think it's quite fun. And maybe that's something you can do, not all every week, but maybe once in a while you can do it. So it's a bit like this, where we just talk about anything that might be related to sci-fi or have connections to sci-fi, and then maybe you can do shows where you're going to be talking about something specific which you enjoyed as well. So even if it's a rehash of something you might have already done, but you're doing it again in a different format, whatever it is, I think it's worth trying it out. But as far as new tracks goes, no, thank you. I think I'm done as well. To be honest, I can't stomach it anymore. It's such an insult to something we all love dearly, and it's just insult after insult. And didn't that guy, the guy who plays the gay Klingon, skirt where his name is, he said season 2 is going to be even gayer. I mean,
oh my god.
I mean, what a stupid comment.
As if that's any kind of metric for a Star Trek show.
Yeah, and it's like, you're proud of that? Are you actually proud of that? I mean, it's just stupidness.
Yes, because everybody came to Starfleet Academy because of the gay Klingon. That is the primary reason we all loved it so much.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sorry.
I'm switching off. I think that's a chapter that's closing for me. Any Trek I do watch now is going to be old Trek and rewatching stuff. I think I'm done with it. I'm even tempted that I might not even watch Strange New Worlds of the last couple of seasons. I might watch the first episode of the new season just to see, but I know I'm going to be disappointed. That's the fact. You just know. It's like this false hope that you have, and then you're just disappointed all over again. You think, oh damn, you say to yourself, I told you so. I told you so. Yeah. Nothing's changed. So there we are. But look, thank you all. Thank you, DM. I'm so, as I said, always humbled, and thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed today's chat. It's been great. It was nice watching it on earlier, and again, thank you to everyone in the chat, and much love to you all. Honestly, it's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to have you here, Gunnar. Thank you so much for joining, my friend, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time, buddy. All the best to you all. Take care.
And then there was one, Xell, you absolute legend, leaving a super chat. I'm so sorry if I've been sniffing a lot during this stream. I'm actually suffering a hay fever at the moment. It is hay fever, and it's actually not flu this time. It is hay fever, but it's really starting to affect me. So I do apologise for that if you hear me sniffing away. Super chat from Xell. Shekels in love and appreciation, but mate, you really don't need to do that. But thank you so much. We've got to get chatting in the background as well. I do miss our conversation. I loved it the other week when we had a conversation. That was great. My God, this is really starting to affect me. I don't know why. I think the pollen count's going through the roof. Making Doctor Who super gay really boosted the viewing numbers. Oh wait, no, it didn't. Never mind. Ladies Gooner. Yeah, Gooner's a great guy. Great to have him on. It's been great to come back and do 10 Forward again, even if it's not to take the piss out of New Trek. It's been wonderful to come back and do this show again. I've really enjoyed it, and I will keep this up. I've had, like I said, some struggles in my personal life. Battling the ugly depression monster at the moment. So talking to people has helped and lifted me up. So I really appreciate everybody's support. I apologise for being gone for so long. I apologise for not being too active in the Discord as well. It's been pollen count is high and hay fever is no fault at all, and it always hits the most inconvenient times. My eyes start streaming, my nose starts twitching. It's horrible. So yeah, I get badly affected by it. But hey ho, what do you do? But yeah, I apologise to you all for being away for so long and not being too vocal. Had some things I needed to sort through. But it's been great to come back, and it's great to talk about great sci-fi. It's been great to talk about movies, and even if we did end up going into some easily cancelable territories, because we're just being honest, and we've been honest about the state of the media industry. So thank you, everybody. I'm gonna end this here because I'm starting to stream out various places in my head. So I do apologise for ending this a little bit too early, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your super chats, your continued support for the channel. And if you're not already subscribed, then please head over to my gaming channel. You're going to start seeing a bit more content coming out from that. That's UKDM Gaming. I believe there might be a link in the description for that, but if not, just type in UKDM Gaming and that should show up. RNTNZ, hang in there, Danger Man. Super chat, love you guys. You don't need to do this, but thank you so much. Life definitely throws a lot of crap at us, but like the shadows and Lord of the Rings, it often passes. Cheers, my friend. Thank you so much for your for your generosity and your support. Thank you. It's you're amazing. Spot on. Thank you so much, everybody. You look after yourselves, everyone, and I will try and be back next week with some talk about Firefly. If Guna can get through some episodes, we'll talk about some Firefly. And yeah, spot on. Thank you so much, everybody. Much love to you. You take care of yourselves, and you take care of